44, David Meach. Batting 8th, the catcher, number 7, George Curbelo. And batting 9th, the shortstop, number 13, Eli Mejia. Pitching today for Bluefield College will be number 16, Ben Kaufman.
The balance of the camera and the orange pop is pretty impressive.
And now the starting lineup for your CIU Rams. Leading off, the shortstop, number 33, Grant Watson. Batting second, number 13, the catcher, Josh Hernandez. Batting third, number 21, the right fielder, Robert Bell. Batting fourth, number 34, the left fielder, Gabe Austin. Batting fifth, number 7, the second baseman, Cody Trujillo. Batting sixth, number 9, the designated hitter, Alex Miller. Batting seventh, number 25, the first baseman, Buddy Bleasdale. Batting eighth, number 44, the center fielder, Carter Willis. Batting ninth, number 6, the third baseman, Rafael Gonzalez. And pitching today for the Rams will be number 47, Brett Collins.
We had to put the
In what? Cement. Oh, right there. I'll take it. Oh, yeah, I'll take it. Or if we have it there, Roger. Everything we need.
song for our walkout. I already did. We'll play it again.
As your CIU Rams take the field, we want to give you the starting lineup once more. Number 33, the shortstop, Grant Bodison. Number 13, the catcher, Josh Hernandez. Number 21, the right fielder, Robert Bell. Number 34, the left fielder, Gabe Austin. Number 7, the second baseman, Cody Trujillo. Alex Miller at DH today, number 9. Batting 7th, number 25, the first baseman, Buddy Bleasdale. Number 44 in center field, Carter Willis. And the third baseman, number 6, Rafael Gonzalez. Pitching today for the Rams, number 47, Brett Collins. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we would ask everyone to stand. We are going to have a moment of silence, recognizing those who have suffered this year at the hands of racial injustice and perhaps continue to do so. And then we'll have an invocation followed by the national anthem. Let's pause for a moment of silence. Our Lord God, we thank you for this day. It's the day that you've made. We rejoice. We're glad in it. We thank you for the breath you gave us that empowers us right now to live and to be here. We're grateful for the safe travel for our friends from Bluefield College. Protect them today, not only from injury, but from illness as well. And Lord, we're grateful for our men and coaches for the CIU Rams as well. And thank you especially today for our seniors. Guide them, protect them. Please bring them health, both physical and mental. Thank you for the Millers and their great contribution to CIU in so many ways. May they find joy in what they see today. And above all, may we play this great game today in a way that is pleasing to you. And may all that's said and done in and around the field bring glory to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. We have one more very important announcement. CIU Athletics thanks you all for your support this year. And at the concession stand, which not only offers our usual drinks and snacks, we have free ice cream. Free. All Rams fans in attendance. Little joke there, since Bluefield College is also the Rams. Yes, everybody.
And we welcome you into Miller Field on this beautiful Saturday afternoon in the Midlands of South Carolina. Columbia International and Bluefield College facing off in the regular season finale of a season that many thought would never happen. But as we concluded today and headed to postseason play, Brett Collins set to make the mound for Columbia International, a junior out of Guyton, Georgia. Kate Crenshaw alongside Gordy Frierson on the broadcast with you today on the CIU Sports Network. Gordy, looking at yesterday's doubleheader split between these two squads, with Columbia International getting the Game 1 win, 12-10, followed by Bluefield's 6-2 win in Game 2. What can be the difference maker in today's rubber match?
Well, I think obviously pitching for the Rams is always something the Rams need to work on. Yesterday, we have the offensive power. Obviously, scored 12 runs in Game 1. We're only able to muster 2 in Game 2, but pitching is what's going to be the difference. Obviously, yesterday, Coach Johnson throws out Parrish in Game 1 and Polly in Game 2, both guys who, you would say are the best of your pitching staff. So it'll be up to be some of these other guys today for CIU to step up.
The left fielder, number 18,
Leading off things
Jeremy
for
Garcia.
Bluefield College here in the top of the first inning will be their left fielder, Jeremy Garcia, the junior out of Miami, Florida. He's set to step in from the right side. Slight breeze blowing in from home plate towards the outfield wall. So if a high fly ball can catch that breeze over center, we may see one leave the park. Collins the pitch. Taken high for ball 1.
Obviously, both these this series is very important for both these teams, as trying to avoid the single elimination game next week at the AAC tournament. So that'll be the 7 and 8 seeds will play, or excuse me, 7 will play 10, 8 will play 9 in a single elimination play-in game. Right now, CIU sitting in 7th, Bluefield sitting in 9th. So I'm sure that's on the mind of both these coaches today.
Taken across the plate, it came across low, but notched just the bottom half of the zone for strike 2 for Brett Collins from the mound. Garcia at the plate, 1 ball, 2 strikes, and no outs here at the top of the first. Collins winds and fires. Garcia lifts it off the tip of his bat. Straight, a rainbow shot into the glove. The shortstop Grant Bodison was jogging back towards the trim of the outfield grass.
And the next batter for Bluefield College will be the right fielder, number 2, Max Aristi.
Max Aristi now the right fielder and second batter in this lineup for Bluefield College, a sophomore from the Dominican Republic. He stands in from the left side. 1 away here in the top of the first. Scoreless ball game. Collins winds and deals. Pitch sails low and away for ball 1.
That was a good catch by Bodison. Limping a little bit. Yesterday he got hurt in game 1, but was able to come back in game 2. I believe he's got a little bit of a meniscus issue going on, which happened against against Drew McConnell. So good to see him out there. And of course, Bodison hit that home run in game 1 to get things going in a 9-run inning yesterday.
2 balls, no strikes to Aristi, and he rockets one down the left field line. It sails high and away. You can kiss it goodbye. A solo home run from Max Aristi, the right fielder from the Dominican Republic. Gives Bluefield College a 1-0 lead here in the top of the first inning.
Almost the exact same spot that Eli Mejia sent that home run yesterday in Bluefield's 6-2 win in game 2. So
that one left the park quick. A hard line drive shot. Really, there wasn't any air under it. Once it left the bat, you knew that one was sailing goodbye. Now Ozzie Mill at the third baseman, a senior out of Miami, Florida, will stand in from the left side. 1 away here, but 1 run on the board for Bluefield College here in the top of the first. Collins' first pitch will miss high and outside for ball 1.
Miller, a big guy. If you can get a hold of it, gotta think there's going to be similar to a result that we just saw. But yesterday, Miller wasn't super successful at the plate, but we'll see what he can do here today. Looks like he'll fly out there.
He will lift one straight to the center fielder Carter Willis and put 2 away.
Field, and Carter Willis gathers it in for the second out of the inning. That'll bring number 5,
2 men away now for the cleanup batter, Clay Wisner, second baseman
2 outs.
out of Bellefontaine, Ohio. Graduate student for Mark White's squad.
You know, Kate, there's a lot of JUCO guys on this team, as well as some Division I transfers. So interesting roster for Bluefield. Got guys, I believe, from California, New York, all over the place. So not sure if I really expect that out of a school like Bluefield, rural area in Virginia, but they got a roster from all over the place.
You talk about a well-traveled lineup. 3 batters from the Miami, Florida area, 1 from the Dominican Republic. Bellefontaine, Ohio, which is Wisner at the plate, is he'll take ball 2 on the inner half. Not to mention White Oak, Texas, San Diego, California, Douglas, Massachusetts, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, just through 9 batters. 2-1 count now as Collins sends one straight down Broadway, taken for strike 2.
Wisner had a good game 1 yesterday, scored 4 runs, 2 hits and an RBI. So he'll try to reproduce some of that here today, I would assume.
The 2-2 pitch from Collins will actually sail into the batter's box that Wisner's standing in. Wisner ducks out of the way on a curveball that really just got out of Collins' grip there. Does not hit him. It goes up to a full count now. The payoff pitch. Rocketed right back up the middle. It takes a hopper off the second base bag and will dribble into shallow center field for a 2-out single.
Straight away to center
for
field,
Clay
and that will bring
Wisner.
up the first baseman, number 39, Taylor Moe.
Taylor Moe now, the first baseman, junior out of White Oak, Texas, will stand in from the right side. He's got 2 men away and 1 on for the 1-0 lead from Bluefield. will send it out of play down the left field line. Once again, lifts that one high into the air. Back behind us out of play. 2 swings, 2 foul balls from Taylor Moe. And an 0-2 count on the plate now with 2 away.
I would love to see Tyler try to catch a baseball. Oh my God. Really?
The 0-2 grounder back to the second baseman, Trujillo. He'll flip to first, and Bleasdale's there to make the grab for out number 3. Collins gets out of the inning, but not before he gives up a solo home run to Max Aristi, and Bluefield takes a 1-0 lead to the bottom of the first inning when we return on the CIU Sports Network. Back here on the CIU Sports Network, bottom of the first inning action as Bluefield College leads Columbia International 1-0 after a first inning solo home run from Max Aristi. Columbia International's offense will have a chance to respond now as the 3 scheduled batters for Jonathan Johnson's squad, Grant Bodison, Josh Hernandez, and Robert Bell, the top 3 in the lineup, set to step to the plate, but they'll be facing off against Ben Kaufman, a 6'3 junior lefty out of Fairview, Pennsylvania. Talk about power at the top of a lineup, Gordy, and you're not going to find much better than Bodison, Hernandez, who is in double-digit homers this season, and also Robert Bell, who can easily, with one swing of the bat, change a ball game.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not underrated with from a CIU standpoint, but I think from the NAI standpoint, definitely one of the more underrated lineups in the country this year. Obviously with guys like Bodison, Hernandez, Bell, and Austin. And I think that is because, you know, all 4 obviously are transfers. So maybe a little unknown in the NAI so far, but I think after this year, people are going to know those names. Obviously, we're losing Austin after this season, but Hernandez should be an All-American by the time he's finished in his career here at CIU. And I think he'll be a household name in the NAIA, especially after the start he had to the season against Southeastern, and then obviously his performances against the likes of Tennessee Wesley and Bryan College, Reinhardt and Point. So impressive top 4 there for sure.
Well, Bodison will be the first man to the plate, a senior out of Walterboro, South Carolina. His first year here at Columbia International. He steps in from the left side. Kaufman peering towards home. Now the windup. The delivery. Just misses high. Bodison took it for a ball, but that just missed the top edge of the zone. A 1-0 count.
Seen a couple southpaws in this series already so far. Obviously, Hunter Garris pitched yesterday for the Rams, so it's interesting seeing him against some of the lefties in the lineup for Bluefield. Obviously, we'll see this matchup here with Robert Bell, the switch hitter for CIU, when he comes up here in a minute.
Bodison lifts the 1-1 high into the air. The catcher, Curbelo, tried coming back towards the backstop netting to make the grab, but that swing will sail out of play for ball 1.
Bodison's had a pretty impressive year. Even though he's only played in 15 games, already has 5 home runs. Not sure you can ask much more from a player than that.
Definitely going to be an integral piece. You know, you talk about looking ahead to next season, and the only couple pieces that this Rams lineup is losing would be Gabe Austin, who hits in the cleanup hole as well as Alex Miller, their designated hitter, batting 6th today. Those are the only 2 men in the lineup that this team is losing. And as far as the pitching staff goes, you lose Tyler Parker, but you bring the majority of your starters and middle relievers back. So Jonathan Johnson's in a really, really good position going into year 3 with this Rams program.
Yeah, I think when you have a coach like Coach Johnson, who's been at the highest level, 6th overall draft pick in the MLB. So when you have a guy like that, it attracts top talent. So I think this program's in pretty good shape. Obviously, what they've done already this year, first full season in the NAIA, and obviously knocking off top-ranked Tennessee Wesleyan and then several other ranked opponents. And if you're going to be in the AAC, you got to be able to compete. As Bodison hits a line drive over to left field.
Bodison will send the 2-2 out into left for a base hit single. And the leadoff man is aboard for the CIU Rams. Josh Hernandez, the talented catcher, hometown kid, a junior here in Columbia.
Yeah, Ryan Lale, our athletic trainer, was actually the trainer over at AC Flora when Hernandez was a high school player over there. So if you want some interesting stories about Josh Hernandez, go talk to him.
Hernandez will take the first pitch high for ball 1. 1-0 is our score here in the bottom of the first inning. Bluefield College leading Columbia International by a run. Bodison over at first, Hernandez at the plate.
Now watch Bodison over at first. Deceptively fast guy, pretty lanky, so you don't necessarily see a lot of speed as.
And Hernandez lifts one high in the air, and like I mentioned earlier, if you catch that wind heading towards the outfield wall from home plate, it might just get out, and that one, by a hair, sneaks over the left center field wall, and Josh Hernandez adds to his double-digit home run season total with a 2-run shot and gives Columbia International a 2-1 lead here in the bottom of the first inning. So far, that wind has given us a home run frenzy. A solo shot for Bluefield at the top of the first, and right there a 2-run homer for Josh Hernandez here in the bottom frame.
Yeah, Cade, you missed it yesterday, but in Game 2, Bluefield intentionally walked Josh Hernandez 3 times. So I'm assuming they may be regretting not doing that there.
Rob Bell now, the right fielder, will step in from the right side. And I'm sure Ben Kaufman's not too happy. He could wish he could have that pitch back from Hernandez as he rocketed that one high in the air. And, I would think on a normal day, not so much wind, that ball probably drops just short of the warning track out in front of the Miller Field sign out in left center field. But nonetheless, that ball catches the wind and just gets over that outfield blue and yellow wall.
Yeah, it definitely looked like from watching the left fielder that was going to drop, but just makes it over the left field wall there.
A 1-1 count here to Bell. And he'll take strike 2 just on the outside edge, a breaking ball. It came across high at the plate, then dropped low in the zone. Bell, a junior out of Palm Coast, Florida. Base is empty here and no outs for Columbia International as they hold a 2-1 lead. A dirt pitch there from Kaufman will get behind Curbelo, but bases are empty, so no damage is done, except another ball on the board. Now a 2-2 count.
Rob struggled a little bit yesterday, but as those who are watching and are fans of CIU know, if Bell can get a hold of one, that's usually gone. But Bell will strike out there.
Goes down swinging is Robert Bell, and now the cleanup batter, one of the 2 seniors that Columbia International is going to lose next season. Gabe Austin, the left fielder out of Summerville, South Carolina, one of the 2 senior bats in this lineup, along with Alex Miller. Now you also have Grant Bodison, who's listed as a senior, not to mention Cody Trujillo as well, but those 2 have decided to go back, not to mention Buddy Bleasdale as well, batting in the 7th hole today. Also moving on after the season, after he's given his last 2 years here at CIU.
Yeah, so those guys who are moving on would be Buddy Bleasdale, Alex Miller, Tyler Parker, Gabe Austin, and Cortland Howard. Buddy graduating tomorrow, degree in teacher education, and then the other 4 will be graduating in the fall. So That first class, I guess, in some ways you could call it, of the CIU baseball program.
Obviously, last season cut short due to the COVID-19 pandemic, along with every other college baseball team in the country. But I think what made CIU unique is they were one of, if not one of the few, who were in their inaugural program's season and just cut short. But this season, 27-24 overall, a tremendous year for Jonathan Johnson just in year 2. And you can tell this team here in the AAC is going to be here to play. And Austin sat down on strikes, back-to-back strikeouts from Ben Kaufman now. And just like that, where the bases were empty,
Yeah.
and no outs on the board. And the third batter in the lineup at the plate, just like that. We're at the 5-hole. Bases are still empty, but 2 outs have gone on the board.
What Bluefield lacks offensively, they definitely make up for in pitching. Justin Coleman yesterday put on a show in Game 2. So we've already seen 2 strikeouts here in the top of the first.
But you talk about a rising program in the AAC, and that's exactly what CIU has. I mean, you saw what they did earlier this season with a series win over the #1 ranked team in the country, Tennessee Wesleyan. Not too many 2-year programs are going to be able to do that, but you go up on the road, especially to Tennessee Wesleyan, and get the games 1 and 3 win to seal the deal.
Yeah, like I said before, when you have a coach of Coach Johnson's caliber at a school the size of CIU, it definitely gives you an edge in recruiting.
Trujillo lines that one straight out to the center fielder. Not enough air under it to let it leave the park. And the third out goes on the board, and we put 1 inning in the books. 2-1 is our score. Columbia International leading Bluefield College after 1. We head to the top of the second when we return on the CIU Sports Network. Top of the second inning here in Columbia on the CIU Sports Network. 2-1 is our score. The Rams leading Bluefield College after a pair of homers from both of these squads. Max Aristi in the top of the first inning had one leave over the left field wall, followed by in the bottom frame, Josh Hernandez, a 2-run shot over left center. Brett Collins back out onto the mound for Columbia International as he faces the 6th, 7th, and 8th batters in the Bluefield lineup. And Elijah Lewis, the designated hitter, a junior out of San Diego, California. Swings on a 1-0 pitch. Can't make contact, though. Evens our count up at 1 apiece. You know, Gordy, we've mentioned throughout the season, strike 2 swung on there from Lewis, but Brett Collins, one of the best beards in baseball, no more. Now pulling off the Raleigh Fingers curved mustache, if you will, on the back of ancient Oakland A's days, as Lewis lines one straight into the glove of Grant Bodison for the first out of the inning, but a quick change in the facial hair for Brett Collins as we wrap up the regular season.
Yeah, Kate, I just got word from Brett's girlfriend, Emily, that he is a mustache-only man now.
Interesting. Not a trend you see too often nowadays. A bold move from the junior out of Guyton, Georgia.
I will say the game of baseball does result in some of the best facial hair in all the United States.
Well, you talk about Raleigh Fingers. Obviously, he's known for the curved-ended mustache. You look at Brian Wilson, the talented closer for the San Francisco Giants a few years back when he was a World Series hero for them. I guess that's been better half of a decade ago now, as David Meach lifts one into left center field, and Willis is there to make the grab. But Brett Collins, easily a man of great style for sure.
Yeah, for sure, Kate. You know, going into the AAC tournament next week, I would have liked to see the playoff beard, though. You know what I'm saying?
It would have been impressive. It would have been. Nonetheless, a mustache will suffice for Collins. 2 down here in the top of the first inning. Base is empty, and George Corbello will take strike one straight down Broadway. The redshirt senior out of Miami, Florida, one of 3 batters in this 9-man lineup from the Miami area. A couple of South Beach guys now living up in rural Virginia. What a change in scenery there.
Yeah, and I believe Correll's a JUCO guy as well. And it's interesting, especially at the NAIA level, you don't see a ton of junior college athletes, except I feel like in baseball and maybe football. We don't have football here at CIU, but definitely in baseball it seems to be a pretty big trend with a lot of the junior college guys.
Corbello will have a base hit drop into shallow right field. Trujillo was charging back from the infield dirt, trying to make that Randy Moss style over the shoulder grab, as was Bell charging in from the outfield to try to make the diving catch. Instead, it falls in between them for a 2-out single.
Very similar to a play we saw yesterday, which actually was between Rafi Gonzalez and Gabe Austin in left, so Rafi was over at third. Very similar hit ball that fell right between Gonzalez and Austin, so maybe a little communication between the infield and the outfield would help CIU.
The 9th batter in the lineup now will take strike one on the outside edge. That's the senior shortstop, Eli Mejia, out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He stands in from the left side, 1 man on and 2 down with an 0-1 count. A dribbler right back up the middle, and it'll get over the hump of the second base bag and roll into shallow center field. Back-to-back 2-out singles for Bluefield College, and the Rams of Bluefield, mind you, might have something here in the top of the second with the 2-out rally.
Yeah, Mejia picks up the base hit. Obviously hit the home run yesterday that really put the Rams away early in Game 2.
Back around to the top of the lineup, Garcia, his second time at the plate today, popped up to the shortstop back in the first inning. First pitch will sail high and away.
A lot of similarities between Garcia and Rafi Gonzalez for CIU, both lefties with the small batters, with the small strike zone, excuse me.
Garcia lifts that one high into left center field. It's going back, and it'll take a one-hopper off the wall, back past Austin. 1 run is going to score. The relay into Bodison at short and put 2 runs on the board. A 2-run, 2-out double for Jeremy Garcia has given Bluefield the lead right back here in the top of the second inning. Bluefield College leads Columbia International 3-2.
Yeah, as I was saying, a lot of similarities between Garcia and Gonzalez. Obviously, Gonzalez not leading off today for CIU, but has been in that role for much of the year. And then, of course, Garcia leads off for the Bluefield Rams.
Collins' first pitch will drop into the zone, taken for strike 1. And obviously, you want to try to get out of this inning if you're Collins, and it's not the guy you want to face. We're trying to get out number 3, Max Aristi, who got things going last inning in the first with a 1-out solo homer. That was a hard line drive straight over the left field wall. Now an 0-2 count of the plate, a runner at second and 2 men away. Collins looks back towards second. That's where Garcia stands. Now the throw home. Tried getting him to chase it outside and away. Aristi will hold back and put ball 1 on the board.
Yeah, one thing I think that's great about Coach Johnson is he definitely allows his pitchers to stay out there a little bit longer, has confidence in them, and I think that's important, especially when you have college-age kids on the mound.
rockets right back to Collins, and what a grab there for the mustache man to right into the glove as he was falling off the mound. Not a play you see too often. Glad everybody's okay after that one. We head to the bottom of the second inning, and once again, Columbia International will try to take the lead when we return. 3-2 is our score after a 2-out, 2 RBI double from Jeremy Garcia has given Bluefield a 3-2 lead. When we come back on the CIU Sports Network. Back here on the CIU Sports Network, bottom of the second inning here in Columbia. 3-2 is our score as Bluefield College leads Columbia International. And the 6th, 7th, and 8th hitters in the CIU lineup will get things going here. Alex Miller first to the plate. Kaufman winds and fires. And first pitch he sends towards home plate. Will sail high and away for ball one.
Obviously, Alex Miller, one of those seniors that'll be graduating in the fall. Miller played a lot of first base last year, and then this year has kind of slid into that DH role, but has been very successful for CIU and came up with a lot of big hits when they needed it.
Miller takes strike one high across the zone. Now the 1-1 on the way. Taking down Broadway for strike two. Miller, a senior, as we mentioned, out of McBee, South Carolina. Honored just before today's game, a nice senior day presentation for the 5 seniors who are graduating from this CIU program. A foul tip inside the battery for Miller will put strike two now on the board.
Have you ever heard of it's McBee, South Carolina, Cade?
I have not. I know it is a very small town. A decent high school football team, I think. But nonetheless, we're here in the capital city. Miller swings on strike two. Pitch will sail out of Corbello's glove, but he'll throw to first and beat Miller's run for out number one.
Interesting fact about McBee that I just heard from our PA announcer, Dr. Brian Byer. Rick Henry is actually a McBee native.
Oh, wow. Legendary sportscaster here in the Midlands over at WIS Television.
Believe it or not, Alex Miller is not our only McBee native. Shane Hammond on the CIU roster, also from McBee as well.
Bleasdale lines a grounder straight back to the second baseman, and he'll throw to first to put the second out away.
Bleasdale ground to shortstop. Nice play by Elon Mejia, and with 2 outs. The hitter will be number 44, the center fielder, Carter Willis.
Sounds like there's plenty of legendary status down in McBee.
That's right. Cade, with Carter Willis coming to the plate, if he gets on base, it is shocking how often he's able to steal. Some speed that I don't know is matched in the Appalachian Athletic Conference.
3-2 is our score here in the bottom of the second inning. As we mentioned, Willis, a sophomore out of Piedmont, South Carolina, at the plate.
Piedmont's up there close to where, is that near where you're from, Cade?
It is, right in the upstate of South Carolina.
Obviously, Willis out of Wren High School. I'm sure you know it well, Cade.
Actually, my high school, Wren High School, rivals, conference rivals up in the upstate. I will say more times than not, Wren did get the best of my alma mater, but, you know, nonetheless. Two strikes on the board, an 0-2 count for Willis. Good food, though, in the Piedmont, Powdersville area, if you're ever up that way.
Good barbecue, right?
Definitely good barbecue.
That's right.
Ball one will miss high to make a 1-2 count. And Willis swings on strike three. It falls out of Corbello's glove. The throw to first will miss wide. And the first baseman, Mo, has to come off the bag to scoop it up. And Carter Willis will reach over to first. And as we mentioned, with him on first, Kaufman now going to have to pay attention to the base pass, as is Corbello behind the plate. We talk about Willis, a guy with tremendous speed, who actually started this season 14 for 14 on stolen base attempts.
That's right.
Which is absolutely incredible. Rafi Gonzalez, now the freshman, who's really worked his way into this lineup, lays a bunt down to the pitcher, Kaufman, who came off the mound to make the grab, tried to barehand it, slipped out of his fingers. Everyone is safe across the board as Willis will advance to second. Gonzalez reaches to first. And just as Bluefield put a rally together with 2 outs in the top of the second, here we are in the bottom frame, and the Rams trying to replicate that. They have runners at first and second with 2 away, and a power hitter at the plate, the leadoff man, Grant Bodison. His second trip in the box today. He's 1 for 1 with a single.
Kid, we've seen a lot of errors in this series so far. Yesterday, in that 9-run inning that the Rams put up in the 5th inning in Game 1, 8 of the runs unearned. So, interesting storyline here in Game 3.
If you're trying to bring runs across the plate, you want the guy who has 5 homers in 15 games this season at the plate, and that's what Jonathan Johnson's squad has in Bodison. Kaufman peering back towards second. Bodison will take that pitch over but low and evens our count up at 1 apiece. With Gonzalez at first, Willis stands at second. Kaufman peering back towards second, now towards home. Turning his head back and forth, now the delivery. Bodison rockets it past the shortstop into shallow left. Willis rounds third, headed towards home. Gonzalez reaches the third base corner, and a 2-out single for Grant Bodison brings a run across the plate and ties things up here at 3 in the bottom of the second inning.
Grant Bodison's so consistent at the plate, and then when you have the speed of Willis and Gonzalez out there in the base pass, it's a winning combination.
Really, this has been a game of anything you can do, I can do better, it seems, for Columbia International. You look at the top of the first inning, a solo homer over the left field wall from Max Aristi. You go to the bottom frame, and the man who now steps to the plate, Josh Hernandez, sent a 2-run homer over the left center field wall. Head to the top of the second inning, a 2-out rally that brought 2 runs across the plate for Bluefield. Now here in the bottom of the second, a 2-out rally so far that has brought 1 run across the plate and has runners on the corners.
You know, Kay, this is definitely so far the most competitive series that we have had here at Miller Field in the AAC this season. Seems like it's either been CIU winning big or their opponent winning big, but this last homestand for the Rams, or for both of these Ram squads, been very competitive. 12-10, Game 1, 6-2, but a very competitive 6-2 in Game 2 yesterday, and obviously tied up here in the top of the second.
With runners on the corners and an 0-2 count at the plate, and 2 men away, Hernandez stands in. Kaufman sends it home. Swing and a miss from Hernandez, and He'll be tapped on the back for out number 3.
Kaufman records a strikeout.
Columbia International will strand runners on the corners at first and third, but not before they tie things up with a 2-out RBI single from Grant Bodison. 3-3 is our score. We heading into the top of the third. That's a whole lot of threes. When we come back on the CIU Sports Network.
Number 43, the third baseman, Ozzie Miller.
Top of the third inning here in Columbia on the CIU Sports Network. All tied up at 3 are the Bluefield College Rams and the Columbia International Rams. A great trifecta there. Collins back onto the mound. He'll face the 3, 4, and 5 hitters in this Bluefield lineup, and Millet, the first pitch he'll see, sent it high into the air, and Willis from center field will slide into the outfield grass to make the grab off one knee and put one away.
Number 5, the second baseman, Clay Wisner, will come to the plate for Bluefield.
Clay Wisner now the second baseman, his second trip to the plate, 1 for 1 with a single today. A graduate student out of Bellefontaine, Ohio. Second pitch of the inning from Collins comes across the plate, catching the lower half of the zone for strike 1. That breaking ball missed outside. Now evens our count up at 1 apiece. Bellefontaine, Ohio. That almost sounds like a fictional town.
Yeah, it sounds like something from a maybe a Disney movie or kids' book.
Something like that. But as the Bellefontaine, Ohio native Clay Wisner lines one down the third base line, actually hopped off the third base bag out of the reach of Gonzalez. He moved over into foul territory to try to make the throw in time, but Wisner will beat it out. Taylor Moe, the first baseman, 0 for 1 in this ball game. A junior out of White Oak, Texas, will try to put another man on here. Just 1 out. Or excuse me, no outs. I'm sorry, it is 1 out. Reading my scorebook wrong there. 3-3 is our score here in the top of the third inning. 2-0 the count on the way. Lined back up the middle, over the second base bag into shallow center field. And back-to-back 1-out singles for Bluefield College. Puts runners at first and second.
Kate, I believe that's the third single we've seen go right up the middle over the second base bag. And then obviously the one that was hit right back at Brett Collins to end the inning, but seems like popular spot there for Bluefield so far in this one.
Elijah Lewis, the designated hitter, 0 for 1 in this ball game. Popped out to the shortstop back in the second inning. He'll swing on the first pitch he sees. So he tried chasing it outside for strike 1.
Lewis, a guy with a lot of power, had a couple deep shots yesterday out there at the left field wall.
Second pitch popped back towards the backstop netting for strike 2.
Always interesting to see the way that Coach Johnson sets up his infield. Obviously today we got Rafi over at third and Buddy Bleasdale at first, but you see Buddy Bleasdale at third quite often, Rafi at short. So definitely a change-up. I believe in the senior read earlier today they mentioned Buddy over at third, but then of course today he's playing first. So a couple very versatile guys out here in the Rams infield.
Do you take a look at the defensive alignment today for Columbia International? Lewis sends one high into the air and over the left field wall for a 3-run homer.
Don't want to say I called it, Cade, but I called it.
The junior out of San Diego, California, catches the air once again with the wind blowing out towards the outfield wall, and he will double the runs on the board. 6-3 the score now. Bluefield College leading Columbia International. What a shot there. And we're going to see Jonathan Johnson come out to the mound, and we're also going to see a pitching change here on senior day. Brett Collins, he'll be back next season. Just a sophomore out of Guyton, Georgia. He'll come off the mound, though, and a senior will take his place in Tyler Parker here in the top of the third. One out on the board, but 6-3 is our score. Bluefield College leading Columbia International when we return on the CIU Sports Network. 6-3 is our score here at the top of the third inning. And you want to talk about runs quickly going on the board and sequential. Bluefield College putting 1 run on in the first, 2 runs on in the second, and 3 runs here in the third. Boy, I hate to see what they're going to do in the ninth if they keep this trend up.
That's right. Interesting to see a 1, 2, 3 like that. But at the same time, I obviously feel for Brett Collins, but kind of exciting to have Tyler Parker in here on senior day. And hope to see some success from him in probably his last game here at Miller Field.
He'll be facing off against David Meach, the center fielder out of Douglas, Massachusetts. A 2-1 count at the plate. Bases empty and just 1 away. Parker misses on the inside.
Douglas, Massachusetts. The Bluefield's got that recruiting pipeline all over the country.
You talk about traveling people. 3 from Miami, Florida, 1 from the Dominican Republic, not to mention Bellefontaine, Ohio, White Oak, Texas, San Diego, Philadelphia, and that's just their starting lineup. Their starting pitcher as well, Ben Kaufman out of Fairview, Pennsylvania. And a 1-out walk will put 1 on the board for Bluefield.
Yeah, Coach Johnson, obviously a Southeast guy, so most of his guys are coming from Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina, so not quite as diverse geographically for CIU.
A pass ball there from Tyler Parker gets past Hernandez, and the runner will move over to second. Meach now stands just 180 feet from home as he stands in scoring position.
Talked about this earlier, but Obviously, with Parrish and Polly going in game 1 and game 2, pitching staff for CIU's got to step up. And it'll be interesting to see how deep Coach Johnson goes into his staff today.
I see Christian Orr as well starting to warm up in the bullpen if necessary to come in and relieve Tyler Parker in the next few innings. Strike 2 on the board.
And yeah, Christian actually pitched in game 1 yesterday after 5 runs were given up. Rams went into the into the 9th inning leading 12-5 and then gave up 5 runs as Bluefield cut the lead to 12-10. Orr came in and closed things out. So he's actually already thrown a little bit this week. So we'll see if he gets in here at all.
Tyler Parker gets his first strikeout as he sits down Corbello. Now the 9th batter in the lineup, who's 1 for 1 today with a single, Eli Mejia, with a runner at second. 6-3 is our score. Parker's pitch on the way. Misses high for ball 1.
Mejia dangerous at the plate. Parker's got to be careful.
The senior out of Philadelphia well ahead in the count now as ball 2 will sail outside. Now a 2-0 count. Parker looks back towards second, now fires towards home. Pitch was in the dirt, but Hernandez, one of the best catchers in the AAC, does a good job of keeping that one in front of him and keeping the runner at bay.
Yeah, talk about catchers, and obviously you have 2 of the best in the AAC, and Gabe Austin and Josh Hernandez, so kind of a embarrassment of riches for CIU at that position. But you got to think next year Josh Hernandez is going to be the sole catcher as Gabe Austin will be moving on.
I believe they said in the pregame festivities also going to be moving on to the military to serve the country.
Yeah, I'm not sure what branch, but I know that's what he wants to do after graduation. And I will say I feel pretty safe with Gabe Austin guarding our country, Gabe. He's a big guy.
A big guy, and you also talk about military appreciation. The digital camo jerseys today from Bluefield as Mejia will hit a dribbler straight back into the glove of Gonzalez, and they will actually play a little pickleball and get the runner at second, who was David Meach, out on the base pass. An unconventional third out, nonetheless, they'll take it either way. We head to the bottom of the 3rd inning. And once again, we'll see if Columbia International can match what Bluefield College offense does in the top frame when we head to the bottom. 6-3 is our score. Bluefield leading CIU here on the CIU Sports Network. 6-3 is our score here in the bottom of the third inning. And Robert Bell, the third batter in the lineup, will step up to the right side. 6-3 is our score. You talk about a trifecta. Third inning, third batter in the order, 3 runs on the board for Columbia International. Nonetheless, to break that trend, the 1-0 pitch is grounded back to the second baseman, Wisner, who will flip to Moe at first in time for out number 1.
Wisner took his time throwing that over to first. Thought Bell might be able to beat it out, but no avail there.
Gabe Austin now one of the 3 seniors who are going to be moving on after the season in this lineup for Columbia International. Out of Summerville, South Carolina, 0 for 1 in this ball game on senior day with a strikeout, as he'll look to put a man on here with 1 away.
Summerville, a pretty well-known sports town in the state of South Carolina. Obviously, Summerville High School with one of the best high school football programs, not only in South Carolina, but also in probably the Southeast.
The 1-0 on the way. Catches the outside edge to even our count up at 1 apiece. Cody Trujillo stands on deck. Another senior, but he is set to return next season using that extra year of eligibility given in part to the 2020 season being canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic, as will many players we see across the country using that extra year of eligibility to return after they essentially had a season taken away from them.
Yeah, speaking on that, it's going to be interesting to see how that affects those high school seniors that are going to be rising freshmen, and obviously with some older guys coming back, guys transferring, that kind of thing, and it also gives some of these kids that played at the NAI level or maybe the Division III or Division II level an opportunity to go somewhere bigger. But it is interesting how that will affect those kids that are rising freshmen in college.
It's definitely going to see a big change in roster numbers across the board. We've seen that even at the highest level of Division I. Roster numbers are starting to be affected, which can in turn affect recruiting classes. Now, obviously, baseball a little bit different than, let's say, football per se, where you have a set number of scholarships that you can divide up rather than a set number of roster scholarships. Austin hits a base hit single out into left to put a man on with 1 down. He has his first hit on senior day. But definitely something interesting to see how scholarships are affected in terms of roster numbers, what kind of clearance and guidance that the NCAA will give to certain athletes and things of that nature.
Yeah, I think especially basketball will be affected just because of the smaller roster size. And you might see an increase in guys going to the junior college level that out of high school just because there's not a lot of spots for kids as seniors stay or transfer.
First pitch to Cody Trujillo will miss high for ball 1.
Trujillo had a good game in game 1 yesterday, a couple RBIs. Has a pretty good on-base percentage, so.
The biggest key for Cody Trujillo, and I guess rather the biggest key, but, biggest compliment you can give him is consistency. Because that's what you're going to get in Cody Trujillo, a solid pillar there at second base. Started nearly, if not all, the games this season for Columbia International at that second base position. Not to mention pretty consistently there around the 5-6 hole in the lineup. We've seen him bat as high as second before.
Yeah, as you were talking about earlier, some of the variations to the infield we've seen this year. Trujillo has pretty much stayed at second for a lot of the year. Played a little short at times, but pretty much been over there at second base most of the year.
Well, he'll lift that one down the right field line. The right fielder, Aristi, will move over to make the grab and put 1 away. Make that 2 down now in the bottom of the third. Gabe Austin still standing over at first base after his 1-out single to left. With 1 senior on, another senior will step to the plate, and Alex Miller out of McBee as he'll step in from the right side, try to keep this inning alive and cut into that 3-run deficit the Rams are facing. Trying to put a run on the board here. They've put 2 runs on in the first, followed by 1 run in the second inning. Trying to get some magic going here in the third.
And that first pitch looked like a hittable pitch, but Miller decides to let it slide through.
Mink Hoffman's second pitch really got away from him, sailed into the opposite side batter's box, but George Cabello, the catcher today for the Bluefield College Rams, a really, really good job of getting out of his stance there and essentially throwing his glove down on the ground almost to keep that ball in front of him. A short dribbler from Alex Miller will take a short hop just over the tip of the glove, the first baseman, Mo. And Austin will speed his way over to third base, and now runners on the corners. There are two seniors on the base pass, and the third senior here in the lineup on senior day will step up to the plate with an opportunity to bring a run across the plate. The same situation that the Rams finished off the second inning with, and that's runners on the corners and 2 outs on the board. Hernandez struck out to end the second. Buddy Bleasdale trying to not continue that trend, as once again the Rams have runners on the corners and 2 down. But instead of a tie ball game when Hernandez struck out, the Rams now trailing by 3 runs after a 3-run homer over the left field wall from Eli Mejia.
Like to see Buddy have some success here today on his senior day. Obviously, Buddy's been pretty much a pillar of this program since it began last year. And CIU's definitely going to miss him in 2022.
Grounded out to short back in the second inning. Now facing a 1-1 count. He'll lift that one high into the gap in left center field, but Meach moves over to haul it in for the third out. The Rams can't come up with any runs in the first 0 on the board. Goes up in this one. No runs in the bottom of the third inning. We head to the top of the fourth. 6-3 is our score as Bluefield College leads Columbia International here on the CIU Sports Network. Top of the fourth inning here in Columbia. 6-3 is our score. Bluefield leading Columbia International. Back around to the top of the lineup we go for the Bluefield Rams, and Jeremy Garcia, the left fielder, 1 for 2 in this ball game, highlighted by a 2 RBI, 2-out double back in the second inning that initially tied things up at that point. Bluefield, though, continuing to extend their lead in the third with a 3-run homer from Elijah Lewis. 6-3 is our score. Parker back on the mound for Columbia International. Coming in relief of Brett Collins. 2 balls, 1 strike, the count. Garcia
almost took a swing at that one, instead held back. And ball 3 goes on the board now. Well ahead of the count is the Bluefield batter. 3 balls, 1 strike. A hard hit ball straight back to the first baseman, Buddy Bleasdale. And Bleasdale was going to make the grab, but as he dove for it just in front of him in the infield dirt, that ball took a weird bounce out into right field just over the head of Bleasdale. And there was no way he was going to make that grab after he made the dive.
Yeah, not sure if that hit the bag or something else out there, but yeah, definitely took a weird bounce there. Might need to rake that area a little bit.
That's what I believe initially happened, is that ball, a grounder down the first base line, hits that infield dirt area where so many batters have rubbed their feet in, inching off the bag. As Parker flips to first after the bunt attempt. For out number 1, the runner will advance to second, but right in that dirt area, you see Bleasdale kind of readjusting it with his foot now. But where all of those batters today have crept off the bag and dug their feet in the infield dirt, unintentionally created essentially a culvert for that ball. Just take a sky-high hop. An unlucky play for Bleasdale at first, and that ball from Parker will get past Hernandez. And just like that, that unlucky play at first has now turned into a base runner over at third base. 90 feet from home would be Bluefield's 7th run in this one.
And Ozzie Millette obviously talked about it with Lewis. Well, that's the same way. Don't want to give them hittable pitches, because if you do, they're going to connect, and that ball's going to take off.
1-1 the count here to Millett. He's flew out to center field in both at-bats of this ball game. Garcia, the lone base runner, standing over at third. And the 1-1 can't find the zone.
And if you're Hernandez, really want to avoid, a pass ball, because Garcia's got some serious speed.
I thought that was going to catch the bottom right corner of the zone. Hernandez, like we mentioned, one of the best catchers in the conference. A really good job of framing that one. Umpire doesn't give him the nod. And we're up to 3-1. Pitch in the dirt once again. Hernandez blocks it, though, and that'll be ball 4, and a free 90 goes to Ozzie Millett and gives Bluefield runners on the corners at first and third for the 4th batter in their lineup, the cleanup man, Clay Wisner.
Wisner, one of those guys very similar to Coy Trujillo, just a reliable hitter that you want, in the middle of your batting lineup. So
sends that one off the edge of his bat. Willis diving in to make the grab out in center field. Garcia will tag up from third as expected on the sacrifice fly from Wisner, but Wisner almost had a base hit. He lifted that one into the gap in right center field, but Willis, we talk about his speed on the base pass. Well, there's also a reason he's in the outfield, because of that speed. He runs in, dives to make the grab off one knee, and put 2 outs on the board, but not before Bluefield extends their lead to 7-3. Now Taylor Moe will line right back out to the man of the hour, Carter Willis, to bring it in for out number 3. Bluefield adds another run on the board, the 4th straight inning that they've scored. They've scored all 4 innings to start this ball game. 1 run, 2 run, 3 run, and back around 1 run in the 4th inning. We head to the bottom frame of the 4th. 7-3 is our score. Bluefield leading Columbia International here on the CIU Sports Network. Back here on the CIU Sports Network, and to lead things off here in the bottom of the 4th inning, Columbia International going with a pinch hitter in Shane Hammonds. 7-3 is our score. Bluefield leading CIU. Hammonds in his first at bat of this ball game. Pinch hit a little bit earlier in this series. He'll take ball 1 high.
Yeah, was 0 for 1 yesterday. I believe it was in game 1.
Strike 1 taken on the outside edge. Hammonds, count even up at 1 apiece, still hasn't swung the bat. He will on that one, but can't quite find contact. That pitch came in on the inside half of the plate and actually dropped out of the zone, but Hammonds tried taking a hack at it. One and 2 the count. 7-3 is our score nonetheless. Hammonds will foul that one down the third baseline, right back to Jonathan Johnson. He stays alive here at a 1-2 count.
Shane hasn't played a ton late in the year, but a fact you may not know about Hammonds, Cade, is Shane hit the walk-off single to give CIU their first ever win at Miller Field last year.
Pretty impressive moment for the youngster.
For sure.
2 balls, 2 strikes here to Hammonds at the plate. Kaufman winds and fires, and Hammonds will send it off the edge of his bat down the first base line. The first baseman, Aristi, tried diving for it. It gets under his glove and behind him. Hammonds round second, slides into third, and you can make that a stand-up double, rather, for Shane Hammonds to lead things off here in the 4th. And if you want to cut into that 4-run deficit, a 3-bagger is the way to start things off.
Yeah, Shane also has pinch ran a little bit this year as well, and you can see why right there, as flying around the bases, getting all the way over to third after dropping that one down in right field. Just what the doctor ordered for CIU here in the top of the 4th inning.
7-3 is our score, but Columbia International threatened to cut into that 4-run deficit with a runner standing 90 feet from home after Shane Hammonds' leadoff triple. Gonzalez at the plate. First pitch he sees right at head level. Gonzalez ducks a little bit out of the way of that one. Obviously for ball 1.
And obviously, Cade, keeping the pitch below Gonzalez's head level is not an easy thing to do, as that strike zone is pretty small there when Rafi is at bat.
You talk about Gonzalez's size, and we talked to Jonathan Johnson earlier this week and just described Gonzalez as a guy with a lot of fight in him. Standing, quote, 5'0", 130 pounds. Important to note that Jonathan Johnson said that his 17-year-old daughter is probably a little bit bigger than Rafi Gonzalez is.
Sounds like something that Coach Johnson would say.
3-0 as Gonzalez well ahead of the count. Now make it 3-1. But Rafi, a guy who consistently reaches base quite often.
Yeah, Rafi is, speaking of guys that have been reliable for CIU this year, Rafi has definitely been that. And obviously, as we talked about before the broadcast, maybe don't think it, but Rafi does have 2 home runs this year, Cade. So even though you think of a guy that gets on base and not necessarily driving in a lot of runs, but Rafi does have some power in that bat.
The payoff pitch on the way, and Gonzalez puts a base hit single down into right field that will score Shane Hammonds. 7-4 now our score in this one after an RBI single from Rafi Gonzalez. That brings us back around to the top of the lineup and Grant Bodison. Columbia International really getting to that portion of their lineup that Jonathan Johnson really, really likes. That 8th, 9th start, and then right around to the top half of the order Jonathan Johnson told us earlier in the week, if you can get guys on base around that time in the order, you're going to score 90% of the time. And right there, they scored 100% of the time, bringing Hammonds across the plate.
Yeah, no outs. So 3-run deficit, but I feel like if you're the Rams right now, you have to be feeling pretty good with Bodison at the plate and Rafi over there at third, and that is going to be gone.
You can kiss it goodbye. Move over, Sputnik. That one's headed to orbit. Grant Bodison with a 2-run homer. Deep over the left field wall. Had the bat flip at home plate. No doubt about it. The 6th homer of the year for the senior from Walterboro. And just like that, Columbia International is back in this one. 7-6. Our score now here at the bottom of the 4th inning. What a moonshot from Grant Bodison.
Yeah, everyone's always so focused on Hernandez, but if Bodison had played some more games this year, he might be up there in the home run total with Hernandez.
Well, I mean, you look, 6 homers in 15 games.
Right.
That's pretty good trend right there. Hernandez has, roughly 12 home runs this season. You can make it 13 as of today with a 2-run homer over the left field wall back in the 1st inning. But 13 homers through the better half of 45 games. A little bit better ratio for Grant Bodison, 6 homers through 15. Hernandez will take strike 2 just on the outside edge. 1 for 2 in this ball game with that 2-run homer back in the 1st. Also struck out in the 2nd inning.
Bodison's got that long reach too on at the plate that you feel like maybe that's a little on the edge of the plate, but he's able to just get out there and get it. Sometimes he'll get in trouble with it. Yesterday he reached a couple times, but man, when he connects, that thing is gone.
Hernandez will keep his at-bat alive. Battling here with 2 strikes as he'll foul 1 off. No outs here in the bottom of the 4th inning. A 3-run frame for Columbia International thus far. An RBI single from Rafi Gonzalez that scored Shane Hammonds after his leadoff triple. And as you just saw, Grant Bodison with a 2-run long ball over the left field wall. That was a no-doubter. Hernandez at the plate facing a 1-2 count. And just like that, count evened up at 2 apiece. Cabello has to come out of his stance to chase it out of the zone into the right side batter's box. Still no outs here in the bottom of the 4th. What started out as a 4-run deficit has been trimmed down to just 1 run. And the inning stays alive with no outs as Josh Hernandez will line one into right field for a base hit single. Still no outs on the board, and we see the 4th Ram of this inning step up to the plate in Robert Bell.
And, Cade, you talked about early that breeze, maybe taking some of these balls out of the park, and I don't know if that's what's going on, but obviously we just saw our 4th home run of today's contest, so maybe there's something actually to that.
We talk about a home run derby, and essentially that's what we've seen today as Robert Bell will take strike 1 on the inside half. But for Bluefield College, you saw Max Aristides into solo home run back in the 1st inning. Elijah Lewis with a 3-run homer of his own over the left field wall back in the 3rd. Bell fouls it off as he now falls behind in the count 0-2. Speaking of Columbia International, Josh Hernandez, the runner who stands at first with a 2-run homer, once again over the left field wall back in the 1st inning. And as we just saw, Grant Bodison with a 2-run homer over the left field wall once again. You see where that wind is blowing from home plate towards left field. And now, granted, while many balls have flown that way from right-handed batters, the wind obviously pushing a lot of those homers out from all 4 of those guys.
It looks like Sky Foster over at first base now, running for Josh Hernandez.
Strike 2 on the board for Bell, and he'll take it. Swing and a miss for strike 3. Bell goes down as the first out here in the 4th inning, his 2nd strikeout of the ball game. Now the cleanup batter, Gabe Alston. You talk about home runs. This is a guy who can add to that total. He's got 10 this season, just the second man in CIU history to get double-digit homers in a single season.
Obviously, Josh Hernandez the first, but not a lot of time for the record books to be created quite yet here at CIU. But wouldn't be surprised if both these guys maybe linger in the in those record books for a couple years to come.
I remember talking to Jonathan Johnson back at the end of March, and it was just after the doubleheader series against Morris College, and we saw Gabe Austin really hit his first homer of the season. Started out the 2021 campaign a little slow, struggled at the plate offensively. But like Jonathan Johnson told us back at the end of March, this is a guy who can really get something going, and he just still hasn't gotten going quite yet. A guy who could hit 15 to 20 homers this season. Well, since then, we're roughly a month later, and he has 10 in a month.
Yeah, obviously mentioned earlier, 6 of those coming in 3 straight series, 2 a series for a short time there in mid-April.
We're going to see an umpires conversation, I believe a little trash talk out on the field. Umpires trying to curve some things from these teams, exchanging words, and I'm sure they aren't, compliments across the board. But 7-6 our score. Obviously, in such a competitive game like this, and as we mentioned, such a competitive 2 days. You look back at Game 1 and Game 2 of this series, 12-10. Columbia International got that Game 1 win. But 12-10, you see, well, that was a very close game. It wasn't for the majority. We're in the 7th inning, and Columbia International just 1 run away from run ruling Bluefield. But they battle back in the 7th, 8th, and especially 9th innings, putting 5 runs on the board in the top of the 9th. Couldn't quite complete the immaculate comeback as they fell 12-10. Then you go into Game 2. While the score was 6-2, once again, much more competitive than that. First pitch Austin sees, or make that third pitch, he'll go down on strikes. With all of the commotion and things like that, Austin is retired, his second strikeout of the ball game.
Yeah, and if you're Bluefield and you're able to escape this inning, I mean, even though you gave up 3 runs, it could be much worse as Josh Hernandez came up to bat with no outs and a runner on. And now, obviously, 2 outs, and the same runner still on first. So, but as you were talking about, Gabe, with the competitive nature of this series, there's a lot on the line when it comes to, or I guess there was more on the line when one team had a chance of sweeping the other. Now that both teams split yesterday, this game's not as important to the conference standings. But right now in the AAC, Bluefield in 9th with 13 wins. Reinhardt in 2nd with 14 wins. So you can see how competitive the conference is this year.
Sky Foster moves over to 2nd after a pitch sails in the dirt. Trujillo swung on it for now a 1-2 count. But you talk about such a competitive baseball conference. That's what you get in the AAC. Not too many games separating the team who's in 2nd, who is nationally ranked, by the way. This is also a conference who has multiple teams in the NAIA top 25 across the country, obviously led by Tennessee Wesleyan, who is consistently and at times we've seen this season, at the top of the polls as the #1 team in the country. But Columbia International, you don't too often see a second-year program step into such a competitive conference and compete. But they're in the top half of that conference and being consistent.
Yeah, obviously you see. Yeah, that's Sky.
Trujillo at the plate, a 2-2 count. Bottom of the 4th inning. Columbia International trying to bring that last run across the plate that would tie things up here in the bottom frame of the 4th. They do have 2 outs on the board there. Sky Foster, a speedster at 2nd. If Trujillo can get a base hit down in the outfield, Foster could score. And on the 2-2, it misses high. Trujillo will let it sail away for now a full count.
Yeah, and I think the Southeast in general, whether it's the NAIA or the SEC, obviously great baseball in the collegiate ranks in the Southeast.
Well, also, not to mention, you want to talk about these two teams trying to head into the conference tournament with some momentum. A 2-out walk for Cody Trujillo will give Alex Miller 2 base runners here, but also these two teams want to carry that momentum into the conference tournament and finish off their regular seasons on a high note. It looks like both of these two teams are probably going to be in that single elimination tournament up in Kingsport, Tennessee, coming up next week in the conference tournament. So you obviously want to carry some momentum there. You want your guys, you want your team feeling good heading into that single elimination game, because one game then carries the rest of your season.
Yeah, and actually, depending on what goes on with, well, actually, no, that's not true. But depending on what goes on with Union, there was a possibility that these two teams could have faced each other in the single elimination game.
Miller lays down a base hit into center field. Foster comes home to score. A tie ball game here in Columbia, and the Rams are fired up. All tied up at 7 here in the bottom of the 4th inning. 7-7 is our score, and we're going to see a mound visit from Mike White, the head coach of the Bluefield College Rams in his 14th season up in Virginia, and we're going to see Ben Kaufman come off the mound after 3 2/3 innings of work. We're going to have a new face take to the mound when we come back for Bluefield College. Cody Trujillo will stand at second, Miller at first with 2 down when we come back in the bottom of the 4th inning on the CIU Sports Network. Back here in the top of the 5th inning, all tied up at 7. Buddy Bleasdale at the plate for Columbia International. Bottom of the 4th inning, excuse me, I said top of the 5th. We aren't there quite yet, still 1 out away. Columbia International's rally is going. Runners at first and second. Miller at first, Trujillo standing at second. And what an inning it has been. 4 runs on the board for Columbia International. A 2-run homer from Grant Bodison. RBI singles from Trujillo and Miller.
Game one yesterday went about 3 hours, so probably looking at something similar here today as we're only in the 4th inning here in Game 3.
Roughly an hour and a half past first pitch. We're almost halfway through. Strike 2 taken from Buddy Bleasdale. Ties up the count. Make it now 1-2. Second baseman Wisner playing closer to that second base bag, so there's a wide gap between first and second. Bleasdale let that pitch sail deep inside. 4-2. Bleasdale 0 for 2 in this ball game, a senior out of Manning, South Carolina.
Buddy hit a home run yesterday.
Bleasdale battling here. Was once down in the count 1-2. Now all full up. 3 balls, 2 strikes to Bleasdale. The senior trying to keep an inning alive here on senior day. Runners at first and second. Trujillo, the lead man, at the second base bag as he creeps off now. The pitch towards home, sailed high and away, and that will load him up. For Shane Hammonds, we have now gone the full rotation here in this 4-run 4th inning.
Obviously, Shane Hammond's the one that got things going with the triple. Kind of started this 4-run inning for CIU. So hopefully he can continue his success, add some more runs to the board for the Rams.
Columbia International came into this 4th inning trailing by 4 runs, a lead that you didn't think they could as quickly make up. Nonetheless, 4 runs have quickly gone on the board. A 2-run homer from Grant Bodison and RBI singles from Alex Miller and Rafi Gonzalez. Shane Hammonds at the plate, bases loaded. Pitch sailed in the dirt for ball.
His explosive offense has definitely been on display, and that's something that I think if the Rams are able to make a deep postseason run that the NAI is going to learn about is this explosive offense of CIU.
That pitch just catches the outside edge now. 1-2 the count. Bases loaded in a tie ball game here in the bottom of the 4th. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Pitch on the way. Hammonds lifts it high into right field, but Aristi moves over to make the grab. And Stephen Estep, a South Carolina native, just down the road in Lexington for Bluefield College, gets the team from his hometown out of the jam. And now tied up at 7. We head to the top of the 5th when we return on the CIU Sports Network. Top of the 5th inning here in Columbia, all tied up at 7. Our Bluefield College and Columbia International. Elijah Lewis, a dribbler, what should have been a routine grab for Gonzalez at third, gets past his glove and will sail into shallow left field. A leadoff single goes in the books for Elijah Lewis to get things off here in the top of the 5th. If you want to retake the lead, if you're Bluefield, what a way to start it out. You want a runner on with no outs. And David Meach at the plate. He's 0 for 1 in this ball game with a walk.
And the way this game has gone so far, you got to imagine Bluefield's going to score some runs here in the inning. But if you're CIU, same time, if you can hold them with the way CIU's offense has been playing, especially in the last inning, I think the Rams are in good shape.
Bluefield trying to continue their trend of scoring in every inning thus far. Through the first 4, they've scored 7 runs, with 1 run coming in the first, 2 runs in the second, and if you can guess, 3 runs in the third. That trend broke, though, in the 4th with just 1 run on the board. And now we'll see if they can kind of create that pattern of the 1, 2, 3. If they can put 2 runs on, we may have something. 7-7 is our score. These two teams love the offense, especially back in Game 1. 22 runs scored between these two teams yesterday in Game 1 of the doubleheader, with CIU getting the 12-10 win.
I think that's something you expect out of CIU, and that's kind of how they've won games all year, is by putting up a lot of runs and maybe giving up a lot as well, but able to score a lot. I don't know if Bluefield, I mean, they definitely have a talented pitching staff. I think you see them win games that way often. So, but so far, Bluefield toe-to-toe, of course, with CIU. That's another single there.
Back-to-back singles to lead things off here in the top of the 5th. That's Meach, who will reach for the first time today. And now the 8th batter in the lineup for Bluefield, George Corbello, the catcher, who's 1 for 2 in this ball game with a single out into right field.
Looks like we'll see Christian Orr coming up.
We will indeed see a pitching change as the senior Tyler Parker's day is done. We head continuing here in the top of the 5th inning. Christian Orr will come in to pitch when we come back on the CIU Sports Network. With Christian Orr now on the mound, George Corbello, the catcher for Bluefield, 1 for 2 in this ball game, will step up to the plate from the left side. Runners at first and second, Ora winds and fires. Corbello showed bunt. And this is going to be a hard position for Columbia International's defense to adjust, because with Corbello showing bunt, Gordy, obviously you want your defensive players on the corners with Bleasdale at first and Gonzalez at third to move in, but runners are going to be moving towards those areas. So you're going to have to leave one bag open if you want those guys charging in. Corbello will foul that bunt down the third baseline, though evens our count up at 1 apiece.
Yeah, and we'll see how Christian Orr does here today. Obviously closed game 1 yesterday and got the save. So that was good for Orr. But he's been a little up and down this year. Has had some pretty good games. Had a great game against Southeastern as Gonzalez makes the out there at first. But Christian Orr has had a pretty good game at Southeastern against the then #1 team in the country, Southeastern Fire. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on in this one. And then obviously heading into next year, I think he'll have like an expanded role most likely as he becomes upperclassman.
Runners at second, third now, both in scoring position for Bluefield. A hard swing and a miss from Eli Mejia, who's 1 for 1 in this ball game with a single, also reached on a fielder's choice in the third inning. And just 1 out on the board. And it looks like neither one of these offenses is going to nudge whatsoever.
Yeah, both of these offenses have had well, Bluefield definitely one of this series has stepped up offensively. And the Rams kind of just doing what they do best. Obviously had a 14-2 win last week in game 1 against Truett McConnell. So you know they can put runs on the board.
16 runs scored yesterday in 2 games from Bluefield. They have 7 through 4 1/3 here today. Mejia fouls that one back for strike 2. For Columbia International, 14 runs yesterday. Not to mention here today, once again, 7 runs through 4 innings. And unless we're in for a big second half of this ball game, I don't think Columbia International is going to top their offensive performance from earlier this season against Morris College, as Orr gets out of the quick jam there as he'll set down Mejia on strikes. A big second out goes on the board. But as I was mentioning, Gordy, you look back to that Morris series, 54 runs in 16 innings for Columbia International way back at the end of March. A program record, 15 different players recording an RBI, and a record 13 players having a hit in those series.
Yeah, and obviously a 32-run game is third most in NAIA history. So that'll tell you a little bit about that series. And Morris, I mean, you could say what you want about Morris, but they actually did beat Benedict College Division II program here in Columbia this year. So while maybe not the best team in the NAIA, still pretty impressive what CIU was able to do early on in the season.
All tied up at 7 here in the top of the 5th inning. 2 outs on the board. But Bluefield is threatening. Runners at second and third. If Orr can get out of this gym, it would be the first inning of the ball game that Bluefield has not scored at least a run. Ball 2 comes across high. 2-0 the count to Jeremy Garcia, the leadoff man. 2 for 3 in this ball game, a single and a 2 RBI double back in the second inning. 2 down in the 2-0. Catches the outside left edge of the plate for strike 1. Orr trying to get out of the jam. The 2-1. Fouled back hard towards the backstop netting for strike 2.
And I think if you're Coach Johnson, so far you got to be pleased with what Christian Orr has done. Handed a tough situation, and so far he's made the best of it. But time will tell if he's able to close out this inning, leaving a couple runners stranded.
Count all evened up at 2 apiece. 2 men away. Runners at second and third. Or try, get him to chase it, and it'll catch the outside edge. Garcia doesn't like it, but Christian Orr will get out of the inning on a breaking ball on the outside edge. Bluefield leaves runners at second and third, both in scoring position, and for the first time today, a 0 goes on the board in a Bluefield inning. We head to the bottom of the 5th rather, still tied up at 7. This series has been competitive, and this game is no different. We'll be back on the CIU Sports Network. Back here on the CIU Sports Network, bottom of the 5th inning, still tied up at 7 here in Columbia. Bluefield College and CIU are in a battle. Gonzalez, first pitch, fouls it down the third baseline, out of play. Stephen Estep, the lefty on the mound for Bluefield, returning to his home state and essentially hometown, a native of nearby Lexington, South Carolina, White Knoll High School, just about 20-25 minutes away, if you will. Still send home the 1-1, and it's driven right back up the middle from Rafi Gonzalez, a leadoff single for the freshman from Batesburg, South Carolina.
A little taste of Bluefield's old medicine there, as we've seen a couple balls hit right back at CIU pitchers, and Gonzalez hits one back of the mound and reaches first.
Grant Bodison will now step in from the left side. You look back the last time that Columbia International had a man on over at first in Gonzalez. Well, Grant Bodison sent a moonshot over the left field wall. That's going to hit him on the tip of the toe, and he'll get a free 90. And I guess if you don't want the ball leaving the park from Bodison's bat, throwing at him might be a pretty decent solution. But what an offensively driven game we've had. Bluefield College, 7 runs off 10 hits. Columbia International, 7 runs off 12 hits.
The issue with throwing at Bodison is you got Josh Hernandez coming up after him, so
there's not really a good way to get out of this portion of the CIU lineup. You go for Gonzalez, who's a consistent base runner and can consistently get on the base paths. He reaches in the 9 hole. Grant Bodison, who's now the new leadoff man, he's hit by the pitch. That puts those runners at first and second, followed by Josh Hernandez, Robert Bell, and Gabe Alston. The runners batters rather, at the plate, on deck, and in the hole.
You just saw Josh Hernandez showing bunt. Not something you see very often out of him. And I would imagine that he's going to take these ones standing up.
He'll take strike one on the outside edge. Count evened up at 1 apiece. Hernandez 13 homers this season, including a 2-run shot over the left field wall back in the first. He stepped peering towards home. Now sends home the 1-1. It's in the dirt, but Corbello keeps it in front of him and the runner's at bay. As ball 2 goes on the board. Hernandez, just a junior. We talked earlier, he's going to be a true pillar of this team heading into next season. You pair him along with a guy like Grant Bodison, like a guy like Rob Bell, among others, who are going to be those power hitters in this lineup that very well could take this team into the top 4 of the conference.
And I think Hernandez has a genuine shot to be the player of the year in the conference next season. I'll have 3 years under his belt here at the NAIA level, and I think that's something that he definitely could achieve.
Count evened up at 2. Runners at first and second with no outs here in the bottom of the 5th. Estep look to throw back to second. Gonzalez will jog back. The ball actually never left Estep's hand from the mound. Now back on the rubber. Estep peering towards home, trying to put an out on the board. The 2-2 on the way. Just caught a piece of it was Hernandez as he fouls that one off. Hernandez barely staying alive here, but battling on a 2-2.
Robert Bell on deck, and Bell struggled so far today, but obviously you know what he can do. So if Hernandez gets on with the bases loaded and Bell coming up, not a situation you're going to want to be in if you're Bluefield. So imperative that.
Pitch misses out on the outside edge. Corbello probably could have brought that one in on the zone on his frame job, but had to shuffle over to glove it. Count all full up now. 3 balls, 2 strikes to Hernandez. Runners at first and second. Estep trying to put it out on the board and avoid a bases loaded. But he won't do it as that pitch sailed on the inside edge, and now the bases loaded for the third batter in the order for Columbia International, a guy who has struggled today in Robert Bell, 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. But also you talk about a guy who can easily send one over the right field wall.
Yeah, if you think back to Bell's grand slam against Point University, you know he's a guy that can step up when his team needs him. This will be a fascinating at-bat here. And obviously following Bell, you have Gabe Austin. So even if Bell's not able to get the job done, got some insurance behind him.
We're seeing some activity out in the Bluefield bullpen. Estep struggling here in the 5th. If Bell's able to lay down just a base hit into the outfield with Bodison's speed at second, obviously Gonzalez at third, 2 runs would most likely score. But he's not going to have to take a swing. That pitch sails in and hits him in the leg. He appears to be okay. And a free 90 and a free run goes on the board for Columbia International as the go-ahead run. They go up 8-7 here in the bottom of the 5th.
It will be interesting to see how, if both coaches think about resting arms at all heading into the conference tournament next week, because as things stand right now, doesn't look like, at least for Bluefield, a win will change their fortunes much in the conference standings.
A single, 2 hit batters, and a walk thus far has loaded the bases and already scored a run for Columbia International. Gabe Austin now at the plate will take strike 1 down Broadway. 8-7 now our score in this one. Columbia International leading Bluefield College. Austin fouls it back. Now behind, 0-2. Trujillo will stand on deck. He's 1 for 3 in this one with a single.
I think Gabe Austin is due for a big hit here in this series. Hasn't really, he's had a fairly productive series, but nothing that we know he's capable of.
10 homers on the season. The 0-2 pitch came over the plate, but it was low for ball one. And a long ball here from Gabe Austin would really open this one up. Bases loaded, Rams leading by 1. The 1-2 catches the outside edge of the zone, and Austin is sat down on strikes without swinging. His third strikeout of the ball game, and didn't like that one. Disagreed a little bit with the umpire. Now walking back towards the dugout, and Cody Trujillo stepping into the box.
Yeah, back-to-back strikeouts there for Gabe Austin. You know, the next time up, he's going to be trying to make up for some lost opportunities.
And also a big out there for Estep from the mound, because you get it out on the board without having a sacrifice fly or an infield grounder.
Right.
Breaking ball is straight into the zone for strike one. Trujillo, a senior out of Greenville, South Carolina, Malden High School. Home of the Mavericks.
Trujillo, perfect guy for this situation. Doesn't strike out often. Great at driving in runs, so just somebody you want at the plate right now.
Count evened up at 1 apiece now as the second pitch will sail outside. A single back in the fourth for Trujillo, but 2 flyouts earlier in the game, 1 to center field, 1 to right. If he can, obviously you want a base hit here, but if you're going to pop out, send it out into the deep outfield, and the runner from third, that would be Grant Bodison, will tag, and most likely the runner at second, Cheeks, will tag over to third as well.
And with the way both these offenses have been playing today, I think if you're the Rams, you got to try to distance yourself at least some, to give yourself a little bit of a cushion, because a 1 or 2 run lead is not going to be secure with the way Bluefield has been hitting today.
And with no outs and the bases loaded, 2 batters later, those bags are still full. And back-to-back strikeouts has put 2 outs on the board as Trujillo is sat down. Now it's up to Alex Miller, the designated hitter, a senior out of McBee, South Carolina. What a day on senior day. He could open this one up. He's 2 for 3 in this one with 2 singles, both into right field. He steps in from the right side, and that one will sail back, and a tough break there from Miller. That ball would have sailed behind him. 1 run at least would have scored, and Bodison, both runners would have advanced a bag as well over to second and third, but as the pitch sailed in behind him, this hard flowing wind sent that ball off the tip of his bat, and it'll go down as a strike and a foul ball. An unlucky break there for Miller and the Rams as a whole, because they probably would have gone up by 2 runs.
When you get lefties facing lefties, weird things happen.
Nothing weird about that one. The third single of the day from Alex Miller scores 2 runs. And Columbia International up now 2 runs on the single from Alex Miller. 10-7 is our score. I'm sure he'll take that one over the pass ball wild pitch that sailed behind it. Runners on the corners once again for Buddy Bleasdale. He's been in this situation now 3 times today with runners on the corners and 2 down, trying to bring runs across the plate. He was unsuccessful in those first 2 with a pop out and a ground out. Also was walked back in the 4th inning. 10-7 is our score here in Columbia. 13 hits on the day for CIU. With Miller at first and Rob Bell over at third, Buddy Bleasdale will take ball 2 on the inside edge, now 2-1.
Important for CIU to have gotten those 2 runs. Builds them a little bit of a cushion and some separation between themselves and Bluefield. As
foul ball chopper from Bleasdale.
Bluefield has not held back in the scoring category today or this series as a whole. Obviously, the Rams getting double digits for the second time this series, so that's impressive.
Not to mention we still have 4 innings left to play.
We do have 4 innings left to play. That's right.
Bleasdale grounds it back to the second baseman, Wisner, who will flip to first in time for out number 3. Once again, Columbia International strands runners at first and third on the corners. We've got 5 in the books. We head to the top of the 6th inning. 10-7 is our score. You want to talk about runs? We've got plenty of them. We'll be back on the CIU Sports Network with Columbia International leading Bluefield College by 3. Sky Foster now out in left field for Columbia International and 1 away as Bodison flipped to first for out number 1, or back on the mound for CIU, and Ozzie Millett will take ball 1. You now make the count 2-0 as that pitch from Orr will sail outside. 1 down here in the top of the 6th inning. Millett, a hard hit ball out into right field. Bell backs his way up to make the grab just in front of the Rams logo on the right field wall for out number 2.
Hitter is number 5, the second baseman, Clay Wisner.
Clay Wisner now the second baseman out of Bellefontaine, Ohio. Two for 3 in this ball game with a single, also an RBI on a sacrifice fly. First pitch from Orr, a breaking ball that caught the right bottom corner of the zone. 0-1. Wisner fouled that one down the first base line, out of play. Or trying to catch the right side of the zone. Couldn't quite find his mark. Now 1 ball, 2 strikes.
After cycling through a couple pitchers already today, Coach Johnson may have found who can give him this win on the mound.
No runs surrendered in the 5th by Orr. We're now here in the 6th. And 2 up, 2 down thus far from Bluefield. A 1-2 count on the way. Came across the plate, but it was low and in the dirt for ball 2. Talk about what a offensively, a driven day we've had here for Bluefield. The fewest batters they've had in an inning thus far came in the 1st and 5th frames. 5 guys still took to the plate.
Wow. Yeah, and talking about, pitch counts, of course, like I mentioned earlier, heading into conference tournament, I mean, both these coaches are going to have to be somewhat careful when you're cycling through that many players in an inning.
A hard hit grounder back to Bodison at short. Flips to Bleasdale at first for the 3rd out of the inning. The first time today for either of these two teams. 3 up, 3 down. I can now say we have the bottom of the 6th. 10-7 is our score. Columbia International holding on to a 3-run lead over Bluefield College. When we return on the CIU Sports Network. Back here on the CIU Sports Network, bottom of the 6th inning we go. 10-7 is our score. Columbia International leading Bluefield College in the Battle of the Rams to close out the AAC regular season.
Gotta say, I think Carter Willis has the best walk-up song on this Rams team.
It is pretty nice. Well, our scorekeeper might disagree with that. There's some good walk-up songs in this lineup. Gordon, if you had to have a walk-up song, what would you go with?
Whew, that is a good question.
It's a good question.
We'll have that answer for you come the bottom of the 8th inning.
Well, I could go ahead and tell you what mine would be, and it is a song that can always get you in the zone, obviously to lift one over the outfield wall, and that's the classic 90s hit "Ice Ice Baby" by Vanilla Ice. Not a better walk-up song in the country.
I'd have to disagree.
I disagree. Wow.
I will say, Justin Parrish switched his walk-up song to God's Country yesterday as he started game 1. And I have to admit, I might have to choose God's Country as Carter Willis.
Regardless of the song, Willis will round first, and the speed slides him into second. That's a routine single. Willis stretches it into 2 bags, and a leadoff double for the sophomore out of Piedmont gives Columbia International once again another base runner, and once again one in scoring position for this big portion of their lineup. Now Rafi Gonzalez, who bats ninth, and usually in your traditional lineup, your ninth batter is not your best hitter. Gonzalez, though, quite the contrary. This is a very strategic move to set this lineup the way that Jonathan Johnson has. Because once you get around to that 8th spot with Willis, if he can reach, which quite often he does, he gives you a speedy man on the base pass. Followed by Gonzalez, who once again reaches consistently and runs the base pass well. That brings you back around to the top of your order, and you talk about power hitters. Grant Bodison, 6 homers in 15 games. Josh Hernandez, one of the AAC's best marks in 13 homers this season, including one today. Rob Bell, who has one of the best pure swings in baseball, batting 3rd. Followed by Gabe Austin, who has double-digit homers in 4th. So you look at this portion of the lineup, Gordy, and it's really, really hard to get around this area of Columbia International's order without allowing some damage.
Yeah, and it may seem like we're belaboring a point here, but this really is one of the top lineups in the NAIA. When you have guys like Hernandez, Gonzalez, and Willis, and Bodison and Bell all in there doing what they do best. And even just going back to Willis, like you said, a routine single that, because of his speed, automatically becomes a double. So, yeah, impressive lineup overall.
Once Willis saw that ball drop in front of the left fielder who moved over into left center to chase it out, there was no hesitation from Willis. He did not run through first and then look back. He was heading for second from the moment he stepped out of the box, I believe. The 3-0 pitch will catch the high outside edge of the zone. And Gonzalez still ahead, though, 3-1. But if there had been even a hair of hesitation from Willis, I think the throw might have beaten him there. Instead, he slides in safely with a leadoff double. And where Gonzalez was well ahead, 3-0, count now full up. 3 balls, 2 strikes to the freshman.
Gonzalez also one of those who seems to be due for a big hit here in this game. Obviously had a double yesterday in game 2.
The payoff pitch. Gonzalez battles and stays alive here, so he'll foul that one off. Rafi, 3 for 3 in this ball game today. 3 singles and an RBI. You couldn't ask for a better regular season finale, especially out of a freshman.
Yeah, a guy that's just so consistent for you, has been that way all season long.
With Willis at second, 3 balls, 2 strikes to Gonzalez at the plate. The payoff pitch lifted into shallow left. Garcia moving up to make the grab, and indeed he will glove it for out number 1.
Yeah, even though Gonzalez flies out there, with conference awards coming out next week, love to see Rafi, who wasn't so highly touted coming into CIU, love to see him get on the all-conference team. I think that would be a great achievement for the freshman.
With 1 away, Grant Bodison, the leadoff man playing shortstop today. Jonathan Johnson's squad will step in from the left side. The senior from Walterboro, South Carolina. What a ball game he's had. 2 singles and 3 RBI. But it's all capped off by that 2-run homer that he sent high into the air over left field.
And I think with Willis, any pass ball or wild pitch, he's going to advance. Like, doesn't really matter how quickly the catcher gets there. He's he's going to advance.
That pitch came in on the outside dirt. Cabello tried making the grab. It bounces up behind him, and Willis was racing into third base. 10-7 is our score. With Bodison at the plate, Willis standing 90 feet from home. Bodison lets that one hang low. Now 2 balls, no strikes. One swing of the bat here from Bodison. Well, I say would score 1. Could easily put 2 runs on the board, though, as we saw Bodison not a stranger to the long ball.
And again, Bodison deceptively fast, able to get around those bases pretty quickly.
One away here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Strike 1 on the outside edge.
One thing I haven't touched on quite as much with these guys in this little stretch of this lineup here is great decision making on the base pass as well. Don't see these guys caught very often, being indecisive. Make decisions and go with it most of the time.
Willis stands 90 feet from home over at third after his leadoff double. Pitch came across low for ball 3. Bodison can get an RBI here, which would be his 4th of the ball game if he's able to bring Willis home from third here with a base hit. Even a sacrifice fly would bring Willis home with just 1 out on the board. Rams leading by 3 runs. Josh Hernandez stands on deck. A slight breeze blowing towards the outfield wall from home plate. Cody Gardier trying to put another out on the board, but he will walk Bodison on 5 pitches. Runners on the corners now for Josh Hernandez,
And the hitter will be the catcher, number 13.
who is 2 for 3 in this ball game with a single, but more importantly, a 2-run homer over the left field wall back in the 1st inning. Was also walked in the 5th.
As we mentioned before, so dangerous to walk Bodison because he's followed up by Hernandez.
And you look back to yesterday's game where, like we mentioned, Bluefield intentionally walked Josh Hernandez 3 times. The first at bat he sees of the day here in game 3, he lifts it over the outfield wall. Now's not an opportunity where really you can walk him. You can't intentionally walk him here. You're going to have to throw to him. But he's a guy, if you give him the right pitch, he'll make you pay.
We'll say, for Bluefield's credit, with Robert Bell struggling a little bit today, walking Hernandez did pay off yesterday, but with Bodison over at first and Willis at third, yeah, definitely not something you can afford.
Bodison will jog into second base on the stolen attempt. Pitch was in the dirt. Cabello did a good job of blocking it, and we will get a free 90 here. I believe that hit Hernandez. And they're actually going to intentionally walk him. Just as we mentioned, something that Bluefield did 3 times yesterday. And that'll bring Robert Bell, who, like we mentioned, has struggled at the plate today. 0 for 3, was also hit by a pitch in the 5th inning. That actually gave him an RBI as well, with the bases loaded.
And when you're pinch running for Josh Hernandez, you get quite busy, as I'm sure Corley Cheeks is learning today as he comes in for Hernandez over at first. But again, I think, can you really blame Bluefield with, they gave Austin a strikeout twice in a row. Bell has struggled, so maybe their best option right now against this firepower of CIU.
Bell lets that one hang on the outside edge, evens the count up at 1 apiece. Cheeks stands at first. Grant Bodison at second. Carter Willis still over at third. Just 1 away here in the bottom of the 6th. With Gabe Austin on deck, Rob Bell stands in. A good eye there as he lets that one sail on the inside edge. Now ahead in the count, 2-1. Bell, a junior out of Palm Coast, Florida.
And George Calbero has been pretty busy playing catcher, trying to block a few of these balls from getting by him from the plethora of pitchers that Bluefield has thrown out here.
Bell can't make contact on that one as it'll go down for strike 2. Looks like the wind has now died down a little bit here at Miller Field. The American flag out in left center field, not waving quite as much as we've seen in a couple of earlier innings. Well, the Bell's count evened up at 2 apiece. We've got 1 away. Bases loaded for the junior. Pitch on the way. Pitch came over but low. That was a dangerous pitch to take if you're Rob Bell. That was right on the fringe of the zone. Luckily, the call went in his favor. But now 3 balls, 2 strikes with a full count. Payoff pitch. Foul back as Bell chased it out of the zone. And he's battling here. And really on a full count, you can't take any pitch that's even remotely close to the zone. Cabello, a talented catcher in the battery, on a good frame job, could really bring that one back in.
Yeah, I was going to say, good decision for Rob to reach there. Seen some even maybe farther out than that called strikes already today.
The bases loaded, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Pitch on the way. Dribbler into shallow right. That'll be a base hit, single. 1 run scores. Now make it 2 runs. Cheek slides into third. A 1-out, 2 RBI single from Robert Bell puts 2 runs on the board. You can now make it 12 on the day for Columbia International's offense. They lead by 5. 12-7 is our score. Columbia International leading Bluefield College.
Yeah, Cheeks looked like he was going to hold up there for a minute going from second to third. Then Johnson called him over, and Hernandez able to add that 12th run on the board for CIU. So the Rams pouring in runs now here in the 6th inning. Well over 20 runs, I should say. I believe we're now at 30 runs, 30 runs through 3 games, and we still have a couple innings to play. Or 26.
26, excuse me.
Yeah. Which, in their last series against Truett McConnell, CIU scored 29 runs in that series.
One of the AAC's best offenses is on display here today. 12-7 is our score as Columbia International extends their lead here in the 6th, now up by 5 runs. With the runners on the corners and 1 away, Gabe Austin facing a 2-0 count. He'll lift it out into foul territory down the first baseline. Cody Gardier still on the mound for Bluefield. Strike 2 taken by Gabe Austin. Cabello tried coming up with it to make the throw to second. As he did, the ball slipped out of his hand and fell to his feet. Bell advances to second. Now with 1 away, Columbia International has 2 runners in scoring position at second and third.
And yeah, that's the thing about CIU on the base pass is even a guy like Robert Bell, who you don't really think of as a super overly athletic, speedy guy, but he is, and is able to steal second there.
22 runs combined between these 2 teams in Game 1 yesterday. Now in Game 3, we've got 19 almost through 6. 6th inning not quite done yet. Austin has something to say about it. He'll lift it high into right field. Aristi moves up to grab it. Cheeks now running towards home. The throw was there. Cabello couldn't quite grab it. And Cheeks will score, and Columbia International continues to add on to their lead. Now 3 runs here in the 6th inning. They go up by 6, 13-7 is our score.
Yeah, Gabe Austin picks up the RBI on the sac fly, but actually pretty good throw from right field. Bello just not quite able to get a glove on it in time to make the tag out, but good throw from right field.
2 away now with a runner at second. That's Robert Bell. He's the lone man on the base pass. Cody Trujillo at the plate takes strike 1. Gardier looking back towards second at Bell. Now fires home. Breaking ball missed away. Evens our count up at 1 apiece. Wind picking back up now, sailing out towards the outfield wall from home plate. And that wind we've seen carry a lot of balls over the fence today. 4 home runs combined between these two teams. They've split it 2 apiece. But a good portion of those home runs probably would not have left the park had it not been for that wind. Gardier sends home the 1-1. Misses on the inside edge. Now 2 balls, 1 strike to the senior out of Greenville, Cody Trujillo. Strike 2 came across the plate. I thought it was low. Umpire disagreed. Ultimately, as his decision that matters the most. That ball actually get past Cabello in the battery, and Bell will move over to third. Now with 2 away, our count is evened up at 2 apiece. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Robert Bell stands 90 feet from home over at third, the lone base runner currently for Columbia International. Gardier trying to stop the bleeding here in the 6th. That pitch almost caught Trujillo's shoulder, but it missed high for ball 3.
Seems like a long time ago when Bluefield took that 6-3 lead. Obviously, 10 runs ago. Now with CIU scoring 13 runs here in the 6th inning, but seemed like a long time ago when Bluefield had that 3-run lead.
Trujillo lifts that one into deep right field in the corner, but Aristi moves over towards the line to make the grab for out number 3. While Columbia International will strand 1 runner, they score plenty. 3 runs goes on the board once again. Back-to-back 3-run frames for Columbia International. 13-7 is our score. When we come back on the CIU Sports Network, we'll see a new face on the mound for the Rams. Top of the 7th inning here in Columbia. 13-7 is our score, with Columbia International leading the Bluefield College Rams. A brand new face on the mound for Jonathan Johnson's squad, Jan Maldonado. He is behind in the first batter he's facing. 3 balls, no strikes. Maldonado still trying to find the strike zone for the first time today. He won't do it there. A 4-pitch leadoff walk for Bluefield College and Taylor Moe. Elijah Lewis now the designated hitter, 2 for 3 in this ball game with a 3-run home run and a single. Will step in from the left side. Maldonado peering towards home, leading by 6.
Bring it in, you got this, come on.
Two balls, no strikes here with no outs. A runner over at first for Bluefield. Maldonado still struggling to find the strike zone. The first 7 pitches he has thrown, 7 balls.
Yeah, Rams got to be careful here. Obviously, we know Bluefield can score in a hurry. Put up 5 runs yesterday in the 9th inning. Game 1.
That 8th pitch finally finds the strike zone. Now a 3-1 count. That one will sail low, though. Back-to-back walks from Maldonado has given Bluefield runners at first and second, still with no outs.
24, the center fielder, David Meach.
Looks like Hunter Garris is warming up over in the CIU bullpen. Garris threw, I believe, 3 innings yesterday. So,
and the biggest worry, I'm sure, for both of these two coaching staffs is obviously heading into the AAC tournament next week. You don't want to use up all of your arms in a regular season finale that does not have major implications in the conference standings. Obviously, if you're battling in this game and you're just on the fringe of a conference bye, if you will, or avoiding the single elimination tournament or things like that, but both of these two teams are pretty much set to play in that single elimination tournament up in Kingsport next week. So you really just want to get out of this game. Obviously, you want to cap off your regular season with a win, but not at a huge expense of your pitching staff.
yeah, especially if you're CIU. I mean, CIU still with a slim chance to get in there at that 6th seed, but after that loss yesterday, it looks like that's going to be highly unlikely.
Count evened up at 1 apiece. A hard swing and a miss there from David Meach will go down for strike 2. And he'll sit him down on strikes. Maldonado, a big first strikeout to put the first out on the board here in the 7th inning. Will retire Meach on 4 pitches.
George Cabello will be the hitter.
And George Cabello, the catcher, who is 1 for 2 in this ballgame with a single and a strikeout, also laid down a sacrifice bunt back in the 5th inning to advance the runners. However, no runs would score. He's got men on first and second with just 1 away. Maldonado's first pitch came in hot but outside for ball 1. 13-7 is our score. Columbia International leading this one by 6 runs. And their pitching, and mainly Christian Orr, I should say, has taken command of this game here recently. Back-to-back scoreless frames for Bluefield. They did not score in the 5th or 6th inning, or now sitting down Maldonado on the mound, trying to limit the pitches that a lot of these guys throw from CIU staff to make sure they are all eligible and healthy enough to play ahead of next week's conference tournament. But those back-to-back scoreless frames have really helped out Columbia International's offense in an effort to take the 6-run lead that they currently have.
Yeah, you got to think that was the thinking behind Johnson pulling, or obviously Maldonado, really a little bit inexperienced as a freshman, but has had some bright moments this far this season, and Johnson trusts him enough to put him in a game with the stakes what they are.
Strike 2 comes across the plate. That evens our count up at 2 apiece to George Cabello, the redshirt senior out of Miami, Florida. With the runners at first and second, the lead man is Taylor Moe. After his leadoff walk, not to mention back-to-back walks, put Elijah Lewis as well over at first. Maldonado peering back towards second. Now the 2-2 on the way. Came across, but low and in the dirt. 4-3.
Molly was able to get the strikeout here. Definitely would be a nice recovery from those first 2 walks he started off with. And he gets it.
A hard swing and miss from George Cabello. Back-to-back strikeouts after back-to-back walks. And it seems like Jan Maldonado is settling in here in the top of the 7th inning. It started out 7 straight pitches outside of the zone. But once he found his command, you can't forget it. Top of the 7th, 2 away. Runners at first and second. Eli Mejia at the plate, who is 1 for 2 in this ballgame with a single, also reached on a fielder's choice. First pitch misses out for ball 1. Maldonado now behind 2-0. Breeze picked up once again, blowing towards the left field wall from home plate. You can now make it 3-0. That pitch from Maldonado flew in the dirt. One thing you don't want to do if you're Jan Maldonado, you've gotten 2 outs on the board after back-to-back strikeouts, but you don't want to load the bases, especially all on free 90s for the top of the lineup.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. And, again, Maldonado is a freshman, but he's had a couple big moments. Like I said, Coach Johnson does trust him in this situation. So I think he'll be all right.
Maldonado sending home the 3-1. It's rocketed over the head of Bodison at short. It rolls into left. Foster comes up with it, now relays it in. 1 run scores. The throw to home off the glove of Hernandez. 2 runs scored. And some conversations at the plate. Temperatures are running high.
2-run score for Bluefield.
Back here on the CIU Sports Network. Still on the top of the 7th inning, 13-9 is our score. Hunter Garris now on the mound for Columbia International, and boy, do we have an interesting series of events there in the break. Temperatures and emotions obviously running high, and one thing we saw there that kind of sparked the whole issue was a Bluefield runner comes in towards home. The throw to home was not in time. Hernandez went for the tag. But after the tag, the Bluefield runner got up and we believe said something to the catcher Hernandez. Those two exchanged words. Umpires came in to break things up. There was multiple conversations. There was coaches' conversations. There was team huddles. Bench warnings were issued. We had fans kind of arguing across the ballpark here.
But we're back to playing baseball now, Kate.
Nonetheless,
that's all that matters.
It's all in a Saturday at the ballpark. 13-9, nonetheless, is our score. Still a runner at second and 2 outs. And I thought that pitch from Garris dropped into the zone, but a ball goes into the books for Garcia.
Definitely important for CIU to hold off any more Bluefield runs here. Still a lot of baseball left to play with 2 innings and only a 4-run lead. As we've seen, 4 runs is not much in this game.
You looked at back in the 4th inning, Columbia International was on the other end of it, trailing by 4 runs at 7-3 at that time. But a 4-run 4th inning tied things up, and then back-to-back 3-run frames for Columbia International in the 5th and 6th inning. Garcia lines that one high into the air, out of play. Now 13-9 our score.
You know, Kate, I'd be interested to see if we might see Gabe Austin or Josh Hernandez pitch today as Coach Johnson tries to save arms. Wouldn't it be surprising, or even maybe possibly Carter Willis get on the mound.
Do you have any eligibility left, Gordy? Did you maybe jog out there?
I unfortunately I used up my 10 semesters. So
Okay.
I didn't get all my eligibility in within 10 semesters, but
I was going to say I could carry the broadcast if you needed me to, if your number is called. Nonetheless, 13-9 is our score. 4-run lead for CIU with 2 away here in the top of the 7th for Bluefield. They have a runner at second and a full count. Payoff pitch on the way from Garris. Lifted into shallow right field. Bell charges towards the infield dirt. Make that Trujillo now, making the grab for the 3rd out of the inning. Bluefield strands a runner at second, but not before they score 2. We head to the bottom of the 7th where it's time to stretch, and hopefully a stretch for everyone here will lower the emotional toll of everything. 13-9 is our score. CIU leading by 4 here on the CIU Sports Network.
hey, Scotty, make sure you're paying attention to the Bluefield, because it's going to be really hard to tell if they switch anybody in their lineup because of the numbers. No, this is the same guy, I think, right?
Back here on the CIU Sports Network, bottom of the 7th inning, and we see yet another new arm for Bluefield College as Stephen Ambrose will take to the mound. He'll be up against Alex Miller, Buddy Bleasdale, and Carter Willis here in the bottom of the 7th. Miller will take ball 1 low and away. Now make it 2-0, Miller ahead in the count. Buddy Bleasdale standing on deck. And I believe that's Carter Willis standing in the hole. We've seen Willis as well as Shane Hammonds bat in that 8th spot here today. Both have been productive. Willis with a double, Hammonds with a triple. Rams leading by 4. 3-0, and now a 4-pitch walk for Alex Miller to lead things off here in the 7th inning. The 4th time Miller has reached here today. The first 3 all singles. Buddy Bleasdale, who is 0 for 3 in this ball game with a walk. Now up to the plate.
This is Spencer Ambrose that's pitching here for Bluefield. Ambrose, similarly to Jan Maldonado in the top of the inning, starts off the side with a walk.
Five straight balls out of the zone. You can now make it 6. That one on a straight shot above the head of the catcher, Cabello, who had to come out of his stance and almost stand up to make the grab.
Quite impressive snag there by Cabello.
With today's wind and how we talk about how it's effective so many long balls and sent a couple over the wall. We've had 4 homers here today, 2 of which probably would have just hit the wall or a little bit in front of it on a non-windy day, but that wind's also going to affect the pitchers and how those throws sail into the zone. A pitch that normally might hit a spot can easily sail high and away. 2-1 the count to Bleasdale.
Takes Ambrose 5 pitches to pick up the strike, or excuse me, 6 pitches to pick up the strike there.
Bleasdale lifts it into shallow center field. Garcia comes charging towards the infield dirt, makes the grab, and Miller will jog quickly back over to first. And Buddy Bleasdale will be retired. Carter Willis now the center fielder for Columbia International. 1 for 1 in this ballgame with a double. Also reached on an error back in the 2nd inning.
Interesting to see some of the different batting stances here, but I always think Carter Willis has one of the most interesting, basically standing straight up and down at the plate.
Really just a slight bend in the knees. But that's like you said, Gordon, that's about it for Carter Willis. Miller over at first, 1 away here in the bottom of the 7th, excuse me.
If you're in the bottom of the 2nd, I don't know if we could keep going here, Cade.
We are all approaching 3 hours now from first pitch, just about 12 minutes away. And we're just now in the 7th inning.
Obviously, game 1 yesterday went 3 hours as well. When you have 22 runs, and today we have 21. Excuse me, no, what am I saying? 22 today as well. So it's going to last a while.
2-1 the count to Willis. Ambrose sends it home. Catches the outside edge, evens the count up at 2 apiece. Strike taken by Willis. Rafi Gonzalez, he stands on deck. Ambrose's pitch got away from him. And Cabello goes up to block it, and he's going to come up hurting a little bit, kind of nursing that right elbow. Would be his throwing arm. And we're going to see the trainer from Bluefield come out and have a conversation here with Cabello.
And you missed it yesterday, Cade. The ump behind the plate got hit by a pitch on the elbow, or right above the elbow yesterday, and had a I had to stop the game for a little while. I had a nasty knot on his arm.
We'll take a break and come back here on the CIU Sports Network. 13-9 is our score with one away in the bottom of the 7th. Back here in the bottom of the 7th inning, one away. 13-9 is our score. Carter Willis still standing in on a full count, 3 balls, 2 strikes after the catcher, Curbelo, was nursing what looked to be a right elbow injury. He appears to be okay and stays in the ball game. Miller over at first and one away. The payoff pitch will hit Willis. And I believe that's going to hit him in either the shoulder or the head area. Willis kind of bending over, now walking under his own power, jockeying to first. Appears to be okay. But something you never want to see here on the diamond.
But going back to the batting stance, when you stand like the way Willis does, it seems like it would hinder you from moving out of the way of a ball crouching down. But so Willis kind of hit right there in the top of the back shoulder area.
13-9, still our score, a 4-run lead for Columbia International. And somehow they can add on 6 here in the bottom of the 7th. We'll wrap things up via run rule. We do see Josh Hernandez, who was warming up out in the bullpen, who is the current catcher for Columbia International, pitched twice this season. But Ravi Gonzalez lifts that one high in the air. The center fielder backing up, but falls just in front of the outfield wall and makes the grab. Miller moves over to third. I thought Gonzalez might have sent one out. The wind just not heading in his direction. But Hernandez, we do see, who has pitched at times this season, warming up now in the bullpen, now jogging back over with 2 away so he can, I believe, setting up his catching gear. But Grant Bodison will now step into the box, and actually Hernandez will step on deck.
Yeah, won't be surprised to see Hernandez try to close out this game, or even maybe we'll just pitch the 8th and then might have Gabe Austin or finish it out. But Coach Johnson definitely doing everything he can to rest his arms going into next week.
Runners on the corners at first and third. Miller, the lead man, standing 90 feet from home. A 4-1 lead for CIU. Bodison at the plate facing an 0-1 count. A throw to first, the double steal as Miller came home. He's tagged out for the 3rd out of the inning. The Rams tried going for the double steal attempt. And that will close out the 7th.
Looks like there's going to be some more talks here between the ump and Bluefield's coach.
Mike White in his 14th season with Bluefield, having conversations with the umpire on maybe some words shared from his dugout. We'll see if there's any repercussions when we come back, heading into the top of the 8th inning on the CIU Sports Network. Rams leading, CIU Rams that is, 13-9 over the Bluefield College Rams. Back here on the CIU Sports Network, top of the 8th inning, and we have new faces and new places for Columbia International. Gabe Austin, who has been playing left field today, is also the backup catcher for CIU, is now pitching on the mound. Not something we've seen too much this season. And then behind the plate, we see Bryce Spittle step in, a freshman. And now out in left, replacing Austin, is Cole Casillo. But like we mentioned, Gordy, that Jonathan Johnson just trying to save those arms ahead of the AAC tournament, and at this point, essentially throwing guys who don't normally throw. We also saw Josh Hernandez warming up in the CIU bullpen earlier. He's only pitched twice this season. He's going to be your starting catcher in the conference tournament, so he's not going to throw, or at least not going to be the first name or second name or third name or fourth name you call on to throw in relief. And same thing with Gabe Austin. Bringing him in to save those arms and just get out of this ball game.
Yeah, Gabe actually pitched last AA series at Trent McConnell, pitched 1 inning. He's only pitched, I believe, 4 innings so far this year. Once against Southeastern, once against USC Beaufort, and once against Carolina. So not something you're going to see a lot, but like you said, Coach Johnson doing anything and everything to make sure he's at full strength going into the conference tournament next week. And going back to the end of the 8th inning, CIU did something that you don't see a lot in collegiate baseball, the old double steal with runners in the corners. You do see it a good bit, actually, at our level, at least in softball. But the first time I'd seen it this year, obviously Alex Miller was tagged out, but can't blame Coach Johnson for trying on that one.
Max Aristi will get the leadoff full count walk over at first. Now the third batter in the order as the heat is starting to rise, the sun high in the sky here at Miller Field. Ozzie Millett, the third baseman for Bluefield, out of Miami, Florida, will step up. He's over 3 in the ball game with a walk. He stands in from the left side, swinging his bat high above his head in his stance. Pitch came over but low. A good job there from the new catcher, Spittle, to keep it in front of him and keep Aristi over at first.
Yeah, definitely starting to heat up a little bit out here. Sun's been behind the clouds. It's been a pretty good day for baseball most of the day and yesterday as well, but now it's getting a little warm. And, as you know, in Columbia, a lot of times by May it's already in the upper 90s, so we're fortunate this year to not have had too many scorchers during this collegiate baseball season.
I was actually talking to a good friend of mine from Minnesota earlier this week, and she was telling me that she was actually wearing 2 coats to the store earlier this week, and kind of hard to fathom because here in the Midlands of South Carolina, boy does it get hot. I can remember first day of class my freshman year of college. Wanted to make a good first impression. Obviously, you wear your nice clothes and things like that. Sweated right through them because it was about 98 degrees that day, the sun boiling down.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing like that end of summer, August heat in Columbia, but thankfully, pretty cool one here today. Relatively cool, I should say.
That breeze has really, really helped things here today, and at the plate, a 3-1 count here to Millett with a runner over at first. 13-9 is our score. Gabe Austin from the mound, looking for the first out here in the 8th. Sends it home. Pitch missed high, and a 5-pitch walk for Ozzie Millett. Now back-to-back free 90s. We'll see Jonathan Johnson come out for a mound visit with Gabe Austin.
And I'm wondering if we're going to see Hernandez here, and I'm guessing that we will. Or actually, this is going to be Casillo. Casillo pitched against Southeastern as well, way back at the beginning of the year. As he takes off. Oh, no, will be Hernandez.
Hernandez will come on to the mound to pitch, and Gabe Austin will head out into left.
So my guess is Casillo is going to be warming up here for the 9th inning as Hernandez heads to the mound. Again, like I said, Casillo has not pitched since the first series of the season, so kind of bookended by the first series of the season and the last end of the season, as you see guys like Gabe Austin pitch against Southeastern, and then Gabe Austin obviously pitched well, only got 2 at-bats there, but and then a guy like Castillo coming in, I'm guessing will be in the 9th. Unless Hernandez struggles here, then maybe we'll see Castillo earlier than that. But
Josh Hernandez, a guy on the mound who's going to flash on the radar gun. At times he can struggle with command, but the heat is there coming out of the hand of Josh Hernandez. And he'll be up against the cleanup batter in the order, Clay Wisner, second baseman, a graduate student out of Bellefontaine, Ohio. When we come back on the CIU Sports Network. Still on the top of the 8th inning here. Columbia International looking for their first out against this Bluefield offense. Back-to-back leadoff walks surrendered by Gabe Austin, who's now been relieved by Josh Hernandez. First pitch, low 90s fastball across the plate, taken for strike 1 by Clay Wisner. Runners at first and second. The lead man is Aristi, followed by Millett at first.
And Hernandez is the 7th pitcher on the mound for CIU today. I don't know if we said over under 7 pitchers here in the final.
The Vegas prop bet, I'm
series.
sure, was 6. So if you took the over, I'm sure you had a good day. 13-9, our score. 4 runs separate these two squads. What may seem like a lot, well, as we've seen in this ball game, not too much. Hernandez misses out and away. Now ball 2.
Hernandez getting a sign there from Spittle, but didn't like it. Time is called.
You talk about the number of arms we've seen today from Columbia International. You start out with Brett Collins. He's replaced in the 3rd by Tyler Parker. And then after that, you saw the likes of Jan Maldonado, Hunter Garris, Gabe Austin, now Josh Hernandez. Am I missing any names there, Gordy?
I was trying to think of who would go down, who would get the win right now. I think it would be Christian Orr, I believe.
Christian Orr would be the one name I'm missing. That's correct.
Would get the win if the game ended right now. I believe he's been the most effective relief pitcher.
Or the only pitcher for Columbia International to finish an inning without allowing any runs.
That's right.
Which has been absolutely incredible.
Well, finish an inning. Yeah, that's correct. Obviously, Hunter Garris did not allow any runs. I don't believe. Things getting a little wild here on the mound as we will
Wisner takes the base on balls.
Load the bases.
It will be the first baseman, number 3.
So the tying run
stands at the plate.
And
that's Taylor Moe, a first baseman junior out of White Oak, Texas, who is 1 for 3 in this ballgame with a single. Also was walked in the 7th inning. And I do see now Trent Polly running out to the bullpen, yesterday's starting pitcher in Game 2. We also see some more active arms out in the right field pen.
Hard to see who is that over there warming up. I thought it'd be Castillo coming in, but hard to tell who is over there right now. Looks like Dalton Langley. Dalton Langley actually threw yesterday as well. So, in a little bit of the danger zone here if you start throwing guys multiple games.
The only issue you're going to run into here is obviously you want to keep your arms fresh, not really throwing guys for very long. Eventually, you hope you don't run out of arms to where you have to go to those emergency guys, like, let's say, a Josh Hernandez, bringing him out of the battery and up to the mound.
I don't know if Flanagan is active today, but I would think we would have seen him in there, but we haven't yet.
3 straight walks have loaded the bases for Bluefield College. And really, without a swing of the bat, they're in prime scoring position.
We've really had it all today, Cade, in this one, seeing a little bit of everything.
22 runs scored between these two teams, the same number that they combined for in Game 1. And we still have the rest of the 8th and 9th inning to go. Hernandez sends home the 3-0, popped back foul, finally for a strike.
Looks like Christian Orr is getting sent back out there to bullpen as well, so we'll see if he maybe re-enters.
Now that would be something that I have never seen at the collegiate level.
This is the NAI, Cade, so.
You're not wrong there. Mo will foul it off for strike 2. And we do see now Orr and Polly coming back to the dugout. Not sure exactly what the CIU pitching staff is currently doing. Maybe just getting their afternoon jog in. But a back-and-forth trip to the bullpen for a couple of guys. Hernandez remains on the mound. The payoff pitch with the bases loaded. Straight down Broadway. Got him looking for strike 3. A big out goes on the board for Josh Hernandez as Taylor Moe is sat down on strikes. And now stepping into the box is Elijah Lewis, the designated hitter out of San Diego, California. Had a 3-run homer back in the 3rd inning, also a single in the 5th, was walked in the 7th as well. One thing to note here, with Hernandez now on the mound, previously he was catching this game. And you look back in the last couple of innings, our emotions have ran high from a couple of players on both teams here today.
Thinking about that.
Lewis was the one who slid home, had a slight collision there with Hernandez. The two exchanged words that brought a couple of players from both teams out of the bullpen, heated up the coaches a little bit, where warnings were issued to both teams a couple of times. And now they're facing off from the mound to the plate.
Interesting dynamic for sure.
Hernandez with the 1-0 on the way. Pitch missed low for ball 2. Lewis, a California native, coming cross country to play baseball in rural Virginia up at Bluefield. Now he's here in the Midlands of South Carolina. By the time his college career is over, I'm sure he'll be a well-traveled man. Bases loaded here with 1 away in the top of the 8th. Rams leading by 4, but the tying run is at the plate in Lewis, who already has 1 homer here today. The 2-0. Came high off the glove of Spittle back to the backstop, but with the speed and heat that Josh Hernandez is throwing, that ball was thrown so hard it actually bounced off the backstop back to Spittle, so no runners could advance.
Yeah, obviously Spittle, Hernandez is fortunate that one comes off the backstop so hard and no runner is able to come home. Saw that same thing happen yesterday when Justin Coleman was pitching for Bluefield, guy with a lot of power, heat as well.
The 3-1 catches the outside edge. Or excuse me, the 3-0, you can now make it 3-1 with 1 away.
Definitely get our money's worth here in the last game of the season, Cade.
I wouldn't call it extra baseball, but we've exceeded the 3-hour limit. Swing and a miss from Lewis will go up for strike 2. And now the count all full up. 3 balls, 2 strikes to Elijah Lewis. I'm sure after previous emotions in previous innings, Lewis wants a hit off Hernandez here, and Hernandez wants a strikeout off Lewis. Bases loaded, 1 away, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Hernandez peering towards home. The payoff pitch. They're going to say that Lewis held back. The ball just missed the bottom corner of the zone, Lewis had to check his swing. Home plate up, checked with the man over at first. He's going to say he held back. Aristi will walk in from third on the free 90 with the bases loaded. And the 4-run lead is cut to 3 on a bases-loaded walk, drawn by Elijah Lewis. Now David Meach, the center fielder from Douglas, Massachusetts, 1 for 3 in this ball game with a single and a walk.
There's a feeling if you could just hold Bluefield just 2 runs here, 2 or less, then you're in pretty good shape. But, man, with the bases loaded, only 1 out, that seems like a tall task right now.
13-10 our score. Bluefield 10 runs off of 11 hits. Columbia International 13 runs off of 15 hits. Still in the top of the 8th here. Bluefield has plated a run, but they have 3 more men on. The base path's full. Meach will send one high and out of play. Gonzalez went to chase it, but that ball is going to land into the Bluefield bullpen out in left field. Hernandez, the 0-2, hit right back to him. Hernandez will get the force out at home. Now the throw to first in time for the double play.
So great double play there.
What a way to get out of the bases loaded, 1-out jam.
And the catcher instincts kick it in with Hernandez playing pitcher, throwing it over to Spittle, and then Spittle getting the second out at first.
Bluefield will load the bases with no outs, but only come away with 1 run. Columbia International still holding strong to a 3-run lead. 13-10 is our score. We head to the bottom of the 8th when we return on the CIU Sports Network. Bottom of the 8th inning now here in Columbia. Welcome back to Miller Field on the CIU Sports Network. Kate Crenshaw alongside Gordy Frierson. 13-10 is our score, with CIU leading Bluefield College. An offensively explosive day we've had across the board. Grant Bodison, the leadoff man for CIU, will start things rolling here in the bottom of the 8th.
So between both these teams, now with Downs pitching, we've seen 12 different people on the mound throughout this game.
J.J. Downs, a righty, now on the rubber for Bluefield. Bodison, Hernandez, and Bell, the three batters due up here in the bottom of the 8th. Bodison takes strike two on the outside edge. The 0-2. Pitch came in the dirt. Now 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Looks like Cabero is a little shaken up there. He's taking a beating from his pitchers today. A couple ones on the arm, some to the chest, so let's hope he's okay here. Looks like he is.
Bodison back in now, facing a 1-2 count. A senior out of Walterboro, South Carolina. Leadoff man here in the bottom of the 8th. The 1-2 came in the dirt. Count evened up at 2 apiece.
Downs looking pretty good after 4 pitches. Maybe get a little higher, but otherwise, not bad.
That pitch sailed outside for ball 3. Now 3 balls, 2 strikes to Grant Bodison. Downs sending home the payoff pitch, the windup, the delivery. Pitch missed outside and a full count walk to Grant Bodison, the second walk he's drawn of the day. And Bodison, in 6 at-bats, has yet to be retired. You look at the day he's had, like I mentioned, drawing 2 walks. He was also hit by a pitch, but offensively, 2 singles, 3 RBI, capped off by a 2-run home run. That was a moonshot over the left field wall back in the 4th inning. Josh Hernandez now as position changes have taken place, a pitcher-on-pitcher matchup with Hernandez now stepping in from the left side.
Josh Hernandez is kind of the Swiss Army knife of baseball players. He's got a little something for everything.
Hernandez will ground it to the shortstop Mejia, who flips to second in time to get Bodison out, but Hernandez will beat the throw to first.
Looks like that'll pinch runner coming in for Hernandez. Or they're saying Hernandez was out at first.
Now, by my vantage point, the first baseman, Mo, came off the bag to make the grab. Not the play I was expecting there, but a double play for Columbia International. Jonathan Johnson's not arguing. Rob Bell makes up for it. You can kiss it goodbye. A big-time home run from Robert Bell puts the Rams back up by 4. Columbia International leading 14-10. And that was a no-doubter over the right field wall from Robert Bell, the junior out of Palm Coast, Florida.
I think Robert Bell kind of has lulled everyone to sleep there for a couple innings and then finds his way over the right field wall with the shot.
And like we mentioned, a questionable play over at first on the double play to Hernandez, but as Bell sends that one over the right field wall, if you will, Gordy, the classic quote, "Ball don't lie." Ball don't lie.
Never heard it applied in
baseball?
In baseball, but I guess.
I think that's the best way you could put it. Austin will take strike 1 of the lower half of the zone.
And CIU is going to need all 4 of these runs as a cushion here.
We look back in game one of this series yesterday. Columbia International was sitting comfortably 12-5 going into the top of the ninth, and, well, Bluefield almost pulled off the immaculate comeback, scoring 5 runs in the top of the ninth before finally Columbia International closing out the ball game, winning 12-10. But they're leading by 4 currently. You don't want another 5-run ninth, or else you're going to have to come back. 1-2 the count here to Gabe Austin. Base is empty and 2 away with Cody Trujillo standing on deck. Downs pitch missed on the inside edge. Now evens our count up at 2 apiece.
Curious to see how much Downs has pitched this year. I'll look him up here right now. Thrown fairly sparingly.
And Austin is sat down on strikes, and that'll be the 3rd out of the inning. 8 in the books. And the Rams are 3 outs away from closing out their regular season finale with a win. And as trends continue, when we come back, we'll see a new face on the mound for Columbia International, and that'll be Dalton Langley. When we return, we go to the top of the ninth on the CIU Sports Network. Back here on the CIU Sports Network, top of the ninth inning, we hear John Denver's classic Country Roads Take Me Home. And, boy, after nearly 3.5 hours of baseball, we're looking to go home. Columbia International leading Bluefield College 14-10. Trying to close this one out, 3 outs away from a win to close out the regular season finale. Dalton Langley, the new man on the mound for Columbia International. The first batter he's going to be facing will be the catcher, George Cabello. He'll ground a short dribbler to Hernandez over at first, who will step on the bag for out number 1.
Langley pitched yesterday. I can't even remember now if he pitched in game 1 or game 2. I'm about to look it up here. It's been seen so many different pitchers over the last 3 days.
A total of 13 pitchers combined between these two teams today. 24 runs, 13 pitchers, couple bench warnings, 4 home runs, if you want to go by the numbers. Eli Mejia now at the plate. Ball 1 misses outside.
Langley pitched a 10th of an inning and gave up 2 runs. I believe that was in, or .1 innings. Giving up 2 runs, 3 hits in game 1 yesterday.
As long as Langley can close this one out without giving up 4 runs, Columbia International will finish it out. The 1-2 lifted into right center field. Willis running over to make the grab, and indeed he will in the right center field grass for out number 2.
2 outs. The hitter will be number 18, the left fielder, Jeremy Garcia.
Jeremy Garcia now the leadoff man for Bluefield will be the last hope. Bluefield down to their last out in this one in the top of the 9th inning, trailing by 4. He'll chop the first pitch he sees back towards the backstop for a foul tip, strike 1. Nothing in 1, the count to Garcia. Langley's pitch sails away and high for ball 1. Garcia, a junior out of Miami, Florida, an interconference transfer, moving over from Montreat. Fouls that one down the left field line. But like we mentioned, a ton of junior college as well as just collegiate transfers across the board for this Bluefield team. Garcia, one of the main ones who has actually transferred within the conference, moving over from Montreat College, staying in the AAC, here to Bluefield. Swing and a miss, and he will sit him down on strikes and close this one out with a K for Dalton Langley. That'll be the ball game. It didn't come easy, and it might have taken a little longer than we anticipated, but that is the ball game. 14-10 is our final score. Columbia International defeating Bluefield College. That wraps up our portion of the in-game broadcast. When we return, we'll take a look at post-game, including our sit-down conversation with Jonathan Johnson, as I'm sure he's going to have a number of things to say after this ball game. We'll be back on the CIU Sports Network.